Chapter 273. It's you! Mu Xingqiu saw a Zhonglinger who was standing next to the palanquin at first glance. His eyes were instantly filled with rage and he could not wait to rush over and give her a good beating. In the end, however, he held himself back. He glared angrily at Yun Luofeng. His elderly face was filled with hatred as he said, "Yun Luofeng, the Yun family. I've been wondering why someone would want to make an enemy out of me when the Mu family has not offended many people. I never thought that you'd be the mastermind behind all of this." How laughable! The world had been kept in the dark by her and no one had realized that this young girl had unknowingly developed such great power. Yun Luofeng's posture was languid and contented. She placed her hand on the palanquin's handle and raised her eyes to look at Mu Xingqiu evilly. "I should thank Gao Ling for this. If he had not gone through so much trouble to find this group of people for me, my power would not have grown so quickly." Suddenly, Mu Xingqiu's face turned even uglier. "The Crown Prince has only found you people with poor aptitudes. It can't be these people. Yun Luofeng, your rebellious behavior will result in the execution of your entire clan." "Execution of my entire clan?" Yun Luofeng chuckled. "I wonder what gives you the right to execute my entire clan? Forget about the fact that the Crown Prince had personally sent these people to me, so what if I had secretly recruited them? If I really wanted to rebel and usurp the throne, it would not have belonged to him a long time ago." Mu Xingqiu was stunned. He clearly could not believe that this young girl would be so egotistical to say such rebellious words in front of so many people. Even if she had the general's estate as her backing, she could not compare to the imperial family. One must not forget that the imperial family had the #1 powerhouse among the advanced high spiritualists. As for the Yun family, only Yun Luofeng was more powerful. However, no matter how powerful Yun Luofeng was, he was only a rudimentary high spiritualist. He could not be compared to the imperial family's #1 powerhouse. Yun Luofeng. When Mu Xingqiu found out that the mastermind behind the Steel Flame Legion was Yun Luofeng, he relaxed and mocked. "For the past half a year, you've certainly made people look at you in a different light. Unfortunately, no matter how powerful your forces are, you're still a good-for-nothing. Today, you have the audacity to barge into my Prime Minister's mansion. I will make sure that you will not be able to leave this place alive." Yun Luofeng raised his eyebrows and asked with a faint smile, "Do you think you have the right to say such words?" Everyone in the Steel Flame Legion no longer concealed their auras. Instead, they released their auras and enveloped the sky above the general's mansion. Mu Xingqiu, who was initially full of confidence, instantly turned pale when he sensed the aura of these people. He widened his eyes in shock and his body began to tremble violently. 10 of them are rudimentary high spiritualists, while the rest are advanced middle spiritualists. This is impossible. In the entire Long Yuan Kingdom, there were only 2 high spiritual realm cultivators. Even Xianxia, who was once called a genius, was only an advanced intermediate spiritualist back then. I didn't expect 10 high spiritualists to appear all of a sudden. However, Xianxia was only 12 years old back then. It had only been 2 years since he started cultivating. To be able to break through to an advanced intermediate spiritualist in 2 years without any external help was indeed a genius. After all, the general's mansion in Long Yuan Kingdom was not a force like the spiritual sect. Disciples from powerful forces like the spiritual sect would have their aptitude tested at the age of 6 before choosing a suitable cultivation technique to cultivate. However, Xianxia was born in the secular world. Therefore, she would only undergo the aptitude test when she was 10 years old. Chapter 274. Comparatively speaking, the members of the Steel Flame Legion were luckier. Not only do they have the marrow cleansing potion to improve their innate talents, they also have the spirit gathering potion to increase their powers. Hence, these people were able to grow to such a level in just half a year. Needless to say, the ranks before high spiritualists were relatively ordinary, and it was easier for them to break through. On the other hand, once one became a high spiritualist, it would be extremely difficult for one to cultivate in the future, and every step one took would be like climbing a mountain. Idiot! Tianke glanced coldly at Mu Xingqiu, and a look of disdain flashed across her eyes. She had sensed the strength of the steel raging flame legion the moment they had appeared. She had not expected Mu Xingqiu to be so fearless as to show off here. However, Xianxia squinted her eyes and looked at the handsome man and beautiful woman in the carriage. She took a deep breath in her heart. These two people gave her a very dangerous feeling. That callous man's strength made her somewhat afraid, but as for the beautiful white-clothed girl, her aura made her feel very dangerous. It was as if he would step into the trap that she had set up if he was not careful, causing him to be consigned to eternal damnation. You two, please do me a favor. I must take this Mu Wushuang with me. You can deal with the others as you please. Xianxia cupped her fists and said. Yun Luofeng gently raised his eyebrows. I still have some debts to settle with Mu Wushuan, so I can only let her stay. Miss Yun. Tianka's face sank slightly and her tone became unfriendly. You better think this through. It's not worth it to become enemies with my Tian family. I heard that you are also a doctor. If you let me take Mu Wushuang away, if there is anything you don't understand in the future, you can come to the Tianjia and ask me for advice. I will certainly tell you everything I know. Miss Xianxia. Mu Wushuang was a little anxious. Yun Luofeng is not a good thing. How can you let her go to the Tian family? Shut up. Tianka looked at Mu Wushuan coldly. Do I need your permission to do things? Who do you think you are? Without me, Xianxia, you are nothing. Mu Wushuang closed her mouth. Her beautiful eyes were filled with unwillingness and anger as she stared at Yun Luofeng. Why was Tianku so overbearing in front of him? When facing Yun Luofeng, his attitude changed. She couldn't accept this. She was not willing to lose to Yun Luofeng no matter what. Seeing Mu Wushuan being scolded by Tianku, Mu Wuchen couldn't help but laugh mockingly. Mu Wushuan, the only people who really cared about you were me and grandfather. You think that you've hugged someone's thigh, but in fact, in other people's hearts, you're nothing. Haha, Mu Wushuang sneered. Even if I'm a dog of the Tian family, I'm still better than the eldest daughter of the Prime Minister's mansion. At least, as a dog, she also had the opportunity to bully others. Moreover, with Tianku and Tianyu's protection, Yun Luofeng wouldn't be able to kill her even if he wanted to. Thinking of this, Mu Wushuang no longer spoke, silently standing beside Tianku, but the way she looked at Yun Luofeng was still filled with hatred. The look in his eyes was as if he couldn't wait to tear the other party into pieces. You can leave if you want. A pair of evil black eyes swept over Tianku. Yun Luofeng's lips curled up, but Mu Wushuang must stay. She still said the same thing. Mu Wushuang must stay here. Tianku's face suddenly changed. What if I want to forcibly take Mu Wushuang away? Chapter 275. I'm sorry, then you can only stay together. The girl's voice was arrogant and confident, causing Tianku's fists to clench tightly. Her whole body's imposing manner emerged, but just as she was about to make a move, Tianyu, who had not spoken since the beginning, reached out and stopped her. Miss Yun. Tianyu turned to look at Yun Luofeng, her eyes cold. Our Tian family didn't know about the grudge between you and Mu Wushuang at first, that's why we wanted to come and take him away. Since Miss Yun has a grudge against him, then I'll do you a favor today. I'll leave Mu Wushuang to you. Tianyu? Tianku froze for a moment, looking at Tianyu with a puzzled expression, her eyes filled with anxiety. But, my medicine man, Tianku. Tianyu's eyebrows sank, speaking in a voice that only the two of them could hear. Mu Wushuang's physique is indeed special, but in this world he's not the only one who is suitable to be a high-level medicine man. It's not worth offending these two people for him. A wise man submits to circumstances. Even if their Tian family has Xianxia, who is famous throughout the continent. So what? After all, Xianxia isn't here. If they were to confront these people head-on, there would definitely not be a good end. Therefore, Tianyu had made this decision decisively. On the palanquin, Yun Luofeng crossed his legs, his fingers gently tapping on his thighs. This Mu Wushuang must stay, but you want me to do you a favor? My favor is very precious. I'm afraid you can't afford it. Do. Tianku's cold eyes gradually filled with a touch of anger. Don't go too far. Tianyu, he's our Tian families? Tianku. Tianyu glanced at Tianku indifferently, interrupting her words before turning her gaze to Yun Luofeng. Miss Yun, what do you want? Yun Luofeng gently raised his chin, a wild smile on his beautiful face. I want you to owe me a favor. All right, Tianyu took a deep breath. I promise you. Tianku cried out involuntarily. As soon as her voice fell, Tianyu grabbed her arm and said, Let's go. In this place, he felt like there was a dagger on his back. Even though that grim black-clothed man had maintained his silence since he appeared here, but his incomparably sharp gaze was still staring straight at him. If he were to stay a moment longer, he would definitely not be able to withstand the man's gaze and fall to the ground. This is why he gave up on Mu Wushuang. That was especially true when he said that Yun Luofeng owed him a favor. At that moment, he felt as if his breathing had stopped, as if he would die in an instant. This callous man was too terrifying, so terrifying that it made people's hearts tremble. Mu Wushuang didn't know what happened. Why did the two people from the Tian family abandon her? Shocked, she hurriedly ran to Tianku, grabbed her sleeve and said anxiously, Miss Tianku, don't go. Don't leave me behind. After I enter the Tian family, I will definitely train hard and not let you guys down. Cultivate. Tianka sneered and kicked Mu Wushuang's body to the ground. With a cold face, she said, You still want to go to the Tian family to cultivate? Dream on. Do you really think that I came here to pick you up because of your talent? Why don't you look at yourself in the mirror? Do you really think that you can become a master? To tell you the truth, it's mainly because your physique is suitable to be my high-level medicine man. That's why I plan to bring you into the Tian family. Otherwise, you'll never be qualified to step into that kind of place. At this moment, Tian vented all her anger towards Yun Luofeng onto Mu Wushuang's head. Chapter 276. Mu Wushuang's body trembled slightly. Her beautiful eyes were filled with pain as she looked at Tianku. Her beautiful face was pale and her eyes were full of despair. Miss Tianku, what did you just say? Even now, she still couldn't believe that the people of the Tian family came to pick her up just to turn her into a medicine person. Mu Wushuang, don't you understand? Tianku raised her cold face, her eyebrows filled with arrogance. I thought what I said was easy to understand. I didn't expect you to be so stupid that you can't understand. Who do you think you are? You are someone who can abandon your family for your own sake. Why would the Tian family use you? Raising you is equivalent to raising a white-eyed wolf. Mu Wushuang's body trembled more and more. She struggled to climb up from the ground and clenched her fists tightly. Miss Tianku, you said that if I become a member of the Tian family, I shouldn't care about the life and death of others. I'm just following the orders of the Tian family. What's wrong with that? Hearing Mu Wushuang's almost crazy words, Tianku sarcastically raised the corner of her lips. Yes, these words are indeed what I said. However, whether you do it or not is your business. A person who will abandon her family will definitely betray the Tian family in the future. What do you think you are important? As if struck by lightning, Mu Wushuang's footsteps staggered a few times. She used her arm to support a big tree next to her so that her body didn't collapse. What is a medicine person? As a doctor, it's impossible for Mu Wushuang not to know. This medicine person is a person who tests medicine. Some doctors will have some medicine people in their hands to test medicine for them. And whether the medicine person lives or dies depends on the doctor's ability. What's funny is that the Tian family came to find her just to turn her into a medicine person. And she, in order to enter the Tian family, betrayed her loved ones. No! Mu Wushuang screamed her lungs out. Her voice was mournful and 2 lines of tears of despair slowly flowed down from her beautiful eyes. Not willing. She was not willing to fail here. She hasn't stood at the peak of the continent yet. She hasn't seen the divine Dr. Xianxia yet. How could she be willing to fall in front of Yun Luofeng? Tianku, let's go. Tianyu looked coldly at Mu Wushuang, then retracted her gaze and said to Tianku beside her. Tianku nodded lightly and followed Tianyu's footsteps as they walked out of the courtyard. When she reached Yun Luofeng's side, she paused and deliberately lowered her voice before she said, This time, on account of Tianyu's face, I don't want to argue with you. However, if I ever meet you again, I won't let you off so easily. Yun Luofeng gently raised his eyebrows, his pitch-black eyes containing a demonic smile. Sure. As long as you have the strength. Even though she was smiling, her tone was incomparably arrogant, causing Tianku's expression to change drastically. She tightened her grip on the hilt of her sword and took a deep breath to suppress the anger that was surging out of her heart. In the end, Tianka strode out of the courtyard without looking back. Looking at the disappearing figures of the two, Mu Wushuang finally felt fear and quickly rushed over. Miss Tianka, I was wrong, don't go. Pucci. Before she had time to rush out, a beautiful figure flashed by and a palm fell on Mu Wushuang's chest. Suddenly, her body flew out again and fell to the ground. Chapter 277. Qin Yan stood in front of Mu Wushuang with a mocking look in her eyes. Mu Wushuang, it's time for you to pay back how you bullied my young lady in the past. Bang. Mu Wushuang was just about to open her mouth to speak when another palm wind fell. In an instant, her body was sent flying. Blood continuously spurted from her mouth. Silence. The entire Prime Minister's mansion was dead silent. As Yun Luofeng's personal maidservant, Qin Yan's capabilities were something that no one didn't know. Who knew? The unknown little maid suddenly had the cultivation base of a rudimentary high spiritualist. What could be more shocking than this? At this moment, Mu Wushuang was no longer in the mood to pay attention to Qin Yan's strength. Her eyes were filled with despair as she stared in the direction where the two men from the Tian family had disappeared. Her heart suddenly sank to the bottom. An unprecedented fear invaded her heart. She hurriedly crawled up from the ground and quickly ran towards Mu Xingqiu. Grandfather, I know I was wrong. I know I was wrong. Please save me. Go to the imperial palace and beg the empress. As long as the empress asks, His Majesty will definitely save me. Mu Xingqiu closed his eyes. After calming himself down, he opened them again. His eyes were filled with disappointment. Wushuang, if you knew this would happen, why did you do it in the first place? Previously, it was you who abandoned the Mu clan first. Now, the Tian clan abandoned you, and you're asking me to save you? I just want to know, how can I save you? Hearing Mu Xingqiu's words, Mu Wushuang thought that Mu Xingqiu was still thinking about his familial ties and his eyes suddenly lit up. Long Yuan country has the backing of the spirit sect. Go to the palace and ask the empress to save my life. His Majesty dotes on the empress the most, he will definitely save me for her sake. If your Majesty is willing to save me, you can invite the experts of the spiritual gate. This way, that slut Yun Luofeng won't be able to kill me. Mu Xingqiu was Mu Wushuang's last hope. Therefore, she firmly grabbed onto him, her beautiful eyes filled with pleading. Wushuang, I can't save you. Mu Xingqiu shook his head. Not to mention me, even His Majesty can't save you, let alone our Mu clan. Grandfather. Mu Wushuang screamed and said angrily, I'm your granddaughter, how can you not save me? I know you have a way to save me. You can't just watch them die. Otherwise, the spirits of my parents in heaven will never let you off. But Mu Wuchen raised his hand and slapped Mu Wushuang, his expression cold as he said, Mu Wushuang, it was you who betrayed the family first, what right do you have to blame others for not helping you? Not only did this slap not calm Mu Wushuang down, but it also made her even crazier, her whole body twisted. You people from the Mu Jia are not good people either. Sooner or later, I'll make all of you pay the price, huh? She laughed maniacally 3 times, and her hateful eyes slowly turned towards Yun Luofeng. Yun Luofeng, you can't kill me. Otherwise, the Ghost Emperor won't let you off. Ghost Emperor? When Mu Wushuang said this, he didn't notice Yun Zhao's suddenly cold expression, his pair of cold eyes surging with murderous intent. Yun Luofeng, you probably don't know, right? The reason why Gao Ling was sent to the bamboo house was because the Ghost Emperor took a fancy to me, and Gao Ling wanted to compete with him for me, so the Ghost Emperor threw him to the bamboo house. Therefore, if you dare to touch a single hair on my head, the Ghost Emperor will definitely not forgive you. Mu Wushuang sneered. There was no longer any fear on his face. Instead, it was replaced with pride. Chapter 278. Plop. Just as Mu Wushuang finished speaking, a figure dressed in a gray robe suddenly fell from the ancient tree in the courtyard and landed in the middle of the crowd. I'm sorry, Qin Yuan smiled sheepishly as he got up. I couldn't control myself and rolled down. Because his master did not like him to appear in public, he had hidden in the tree. He did not expect to suddenly hear Mu Wuxuan's self-righteous words. He was so shocked that he accidentally fell from the tree. Who are you? Mu Xingqiu's expression changed. He did not expect that there would be someone watching from the shadows when the Mu family and the Yun family were at loggerheads. And he had not noticed. Just how powerful was this man? Are you asking me? Qin Yuan turned to Mu Xingqiu and chuckled. The crown prince of Long Yuan country should know who I am. I was the one who sent him to the bamboo house and sold him for a good price. Tete, I have to say that the crown prince has an excellent figure. The customers at the bamboo house liked him very much. Of course, no matter how good the crown prince's figure was, he could not be compared to his master. You're the Ghost Emperor's subordinate? Mu Wuxuan was overjoyed when he heard Qin Yuan's words. Are you here to save me? Qin Yuan laughed awkwardly and said, Are you misunderstanding something? My master is not close to you. Why did he ask me to save you? Not close? These two words caused Mu Wuxuan's expression to change. If he doesn't like me, why did he fight with the crown prince for my sake? Qin Yuan's face was still full of smiles. However, his eyes were filled with mockery. My master likes Yun Luofeng from the Yun family. He's not fighting with Gao Ling for his affections. It's just that Gao Ling is too annoying. He keeps pestering our future mistress. So my master asked me to send him to the bamboo house so that he can have some peace and quiet for a while. Fighting for his affections? Someone like Gao Ling is not worthy enough for my master to fight for his affections. My master's actions that day were just to chase away a fly that was pestering his mistress. How is this fighting for her affections? Mu Wuxuan's face instantly became incomparably pale. She took a few more steps back, and with a bang, her butt fell to the ground. Her complexion had also changed from its initial pale complexion to the gray of a dead person. The person the Ghost Emperor liked was Yun Luofeng? But why was Yun Luofeng's luck always so good? Even the Ghost Emperor loved her deeply? It was laughable that he thought that the Ghost Emperor had taken a liking to him. Suddenly, Mu Wuxuan seemed to think of something, his hoarse voice with a hint of madness. The Ghost Emperor actually liked Yun Luofeng. What a pity, what a pity. Yun Luofeng, that slut, had an illicit relationship with a guard and has long since lost her chastity. I want to see how your Ghost Emperor will continue to like her. Hearing Mu Wuxuan's crazy words, Qin Yuan carefully glanced at the cold man sitting on the palanquin, cold sweat breaking out all over his body. He knew that he had handled things improperly at the beginning, causing Mu Wuxuan to misunderstand that the person the master liked was him. This matter will inevitably make the master very dissatisfied. But how could he have thought that a woman would be narcissistic to such an extent? As if sensing the man's murderous intent growing stronger, Qin Yuan shrank his neck in fear. Afraid that he would be implicated, he immediately turned to look at the laughing Mu Wuxuan and said sarcastically, I'm sorry, the guard that you said had an illicit relationship with Miss Yun is my master. Chapter 279. Qin Yuan had deliberately lowered his voice when he said this. This was because he knows that his master does not want to reveal his identity. Otherwise, based on the selfish nature of the Xiao family, they would never give up the opportunity to pester his master. However, even though his voice was extremely low, Yun Luofeng's ears could still hear it clearly. She gently raised her brow and turned towards the grim and handsome man next to her. Her narrowed black eyes flashed with a dangerous light. Yun Xiao, go back and explain to me what's going on. Yun Xiao was startled and nodded, all right. At this moment, in the courtyard of the Prime Minister's mansion, Mu Wuxuan's entire being was frozen in place like a statue. Her eyes stared sluggishly at Qin Yuan, who was standing in front of her as if she had yet to recover from the shock of the other party's words. Impossible, he's just a guard. How could he possibly be? Her voice trembled and even her chest heaved violently. Her grayish-white face was completely devoid of color. However, before she could finish her sentence, she was interrupted by Qin Yuan's mocking voice. Who had asked my mistress to be so outstanding that my master would willingly accompany her? Of course, in this regard, Even if you exhaust your entire life, you would never be able to match up to her. Qin Yuan's words were like a sharp thorn which pierced fiercely into Mu Wushuang's heart. Her eyes, which had originally been filled with despair, were now filled with hatred and anger. In the beginning, she had thought that the Ghost Emperor was just an ugly man, which was why he had used a mask. She never thought that the Ghost Emperor would not only be so grim and handsome, he was so perfect that it made one's heart pound. Most importantly, he was infatuated with Yun Luofeng. This was an advantage that all men in the world lacked. But why would such an outstanding man only set his eyes on Yun Luofeng? In what way was she inferior to Yun Luofeng? Especially this Ghost Emperor, for the sake of a woman, he had willingly come to her side and become her guard. All of a sudden, Mu Wushuang thought back to the humiliation she had shown Yun Shao in the beginning. At that time, she had even humiliated him, saying that a little guard was not even qualified to look at her. However, she never thought that this little guard would be such a famous existence. Thinking of this, Mu Wushuang wanted to slap himself hard in the face. If she hadn't humiliated Yun Shao back then, would the Ghost Emperor have shown her some tender and protective feelings, and she wouldn't have ended up in her current situation? Obviously, Mu Wushuang thought too much. Even if she didn't say those words, in Yun Zhao's mind, she was still an existence that must die. Who asked her to offend Yun Luofeng? Anyone who offended Yun Luofeng deserved to die. Mu Wushuang. Qin Yuan curled his lips and his eyes were filled with mockery. You and Gao Ling are a perfect match. Both of you are idiots. They were truly a match made in heaven. Only Jailing would be interested in a woman like you. But it's good that he's like this. My master has found a treasure. As if afraid that the anger in Mu Wushuang's heart was not big enough, Qin Yuan continued to stab her with flowers. His disdainful voice was like a sharp thorn, piercing her heart with thousands of holes and dripping with blood. Then, Mu Wushuang's face twisted with jealousy and he threw himself towards the palanquin. Yun Luofeng, you slut, I'm going to kill you. It's all your fault. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be in this situation. It's all your fault. Chapter 280. However, before Mu Wushuang could reach Yun Luofeng, a sharp sword suddenly pierced through her chest. Fresh blood instantly bloomed like a rose, staining her robes red. Qin Yen coldly withdrew her long sword. Her delicate features carried a sneer. Mu Wushuang, have you forgotten how you had treated my lady? Now, you've just received your retribution. The little servant girl's words caused Mu Wushuang's entire body to stiffen and tremble. She raised her head and stared at the young girl lying on the palanquin. A look of unwillingness appeared on her pale face. She could not die here, especially in front of Yun Luofeng. Grandfather? She turned her head with difficulty and looked at Mu Xingqiu with pleading eyes. Save me. Mu Xingqiu's eyes flashed with reluctance. Yun Luofeng, this time, the Yun family has won and won beautifully. All these years, the Yun family has been my mortal enemy. I've always been against you and now I'm tired. Mortal enemy? Yun Luofeng curled her lips. I'm sorry, the Mu family is only a stepping stone for me. You're not qualified to be my mortal enemy. If it had been in the past, Mu Xingqiu would have quarreled with Yun Luofeng after hearing her arrogant words. But now, his heart has sunk to the bottom of the valley. He took a deep breath and said, Yun Luofeng, I can cut my throat in front of you, but I only ask that you leave Mu Wushuang's corpse intact. Qin Yan's attack had deliberately avoided Mu Wushuang's vital points. Her aim was obvious. She wanted to keep Mu Wushuang's life to torture him. However, he couldn't bear to see his most beloved granddaughter being tortured by others. Even if Mu Wushuang had betrayed the Mu family first. You want to talk terms with me? The smile on Yun Luofeng's lips contained a hint of evil. Her pitch-black eyes fell upon Mu Xingqiu's deathly pale face. Do you think you're qualified? Mu Xingqiu smiled bitterly. Yun Luofeng, I'm begging you. Leave my granddaughter's corpse intact and let her die without any pain. He did not beg Yun Luofeng to spare Mu Wushuang because that was simply impossible. Therefore, he only asked her to leave Mu Wushuang's corpse intact. As a grandfather, this was the only thing he could do. Grandfather. Mu Xingqiu's voice was weak but her beautiful eyes were filled with despair. I don't want to die. I don't want to die. I don't want to die, Grandpa. Mu Xingqiao's expression was somewhat pained. However, in the end he ignored Mu Wushuang's pleading voice and calmly stared at Yun Luofeng. Yun Luofeng, if you promise me, I will immediately commit suicide. Yun Luofeng's black eyes evilly glanced at Mu Xingqiao. He curled his lips and said, Mu Xingqiao, do you still remember what you said before? Mu Xingqiao's body stiffened, and his aged face became even paler. You once told my old man that the Mu family first had imperial concubine Mu, and now you have the crown prince's imperial concubine, Mu Wushuang. Therefore, the Mu family is destined to step on the Yun family's head forever. Mu, and we will Mu. You told my old man that the Mu family has concubine Mu and now Mu Wushuan, the crown princess. Therefore, the Mu family is destined to always be above the Yun family. I will only use my own strength to decide my own fate. Chapter 281. Mu Xingqiao closed his eyes. He recalled how he had ridiculed Yun Luo in the past and found it laughable. That's right. The Mu clan had indeed produced two outstanding women who could be sent to the royal family. Especially Mu Wushuan, she was the future mother of the nation. Mother of the world. The Yun clan had nothing. Even Yun Luofeng, who was previously engaged to the crown prince, had been annulled. However, so what if the Mu clan's women were outstanding? Didn't they still need to cling onto the royal family to survive? The Yun clan, on the other hand, had unknowingly trampled on the royal family. Yun Luofeng, do you really not care about old ties? Mu Xingqiao opened his eyes and spoke in an overbearing manner. Your grandfather and I are both officials of the imperial court. Why must you be so excessive? Old ties? Yun Luofeng smiled. Her smile was filled with mockery as she said, What old ties do I have with the Mu clan? You leaked military intelligence and caused the deaths of my parents. You should have known that today's retribution would come. The heavens watch over the actions of a man. The Mu clan's current outcome was the retribution they deserved. Mu Xingqiao laughed coldly. He looked at Mu Wushuan and sighed, Wushuan, I've been too lenient with you all these years. That's why you've done so many wrong things and even betrayed the clan. However, no matter what you've done, you're still part of the Mu clan's bloodline. I originally wanted to let you die painlessly, but it seems that's no longer possible. After saying this, Mu Xingqiao turned to Mu Wuchen and said, If you don't want to suffer too much pain, then kill yourself like I did. Mu Xingqiao no longer hesitated. He pulled out his sword and plunged it into his heart without hesitation. Fresh blood spurted out and dyed the entire ground red. Mu Xingqiao's body trembled slightly before he slowly fell to the ground. Grandfather! Mu Wuchen's eyes instantly turned red. He glared fiercely at Yun Luofeng and said, Yun Luofeng, you're no better off than the Mu clan. You've killed so many people. You'll get your retribution. Once you die, you'll definitely enter the 18 levels of hell. Retribution? Yun Luofeng raised her eyebrows. Her words were arrogant and unruly, and her eyes were filled with insolence that did not place the world in her eyes. If I don't go to hell, who will? Wait till I go to hell, I will kill all of you again. Humph! Mu Wuchen coldly snorted. At that time, let's see who kills who. Yun Luofeng, I'll wait for you in hell. Bang! Mu Wuchen raised his palm and slammed it against the top of his head. In an instant, the top of his head was smashed into pieces. His brain and blood mixed together and gradually flowed down from the top of his head. It stood to reason that Mu Wuchen was just arrogant and vicious in his words. He did not participate in anything that Mu Wushuang and Mu Xingqiao had planned. At most, he helped Mu Wushuang deal with some women who pestered the crown prince. But Yun Luofeng still did not plan on letting him off. Weeds must be cut by the roots. If Mu Wuchen was allowed to live, with his hatred towards her, he would definitely do something to harm the general's residence in the future. It was impossible for her to stay in the general's mansion forever. For the sake of her loved ones, she would not regret it even if she was reviled by thousands of people. Yun Luofeng glanced at the two bodies on the ground and then turned her eyes to Mu Wushuang. I'll give you a chance. You can choose to commit suicide like them, Or, let me finish you? Of course, if you choose the latter, even if you can't bear it and want to commit suicide in the future, you won't be able to. Chapter 282. Mu Wushuang's body trembled. She looked at Mu Xingqiu and Mu Wuchen who were lying on the ground, her eyes revealing a trace of horror. No, I don't want to die. I want to live. Even ants know how to live, let alone the greedy and cowardly Mu Wushuang. Therefore, it was impossible for someone like her to commit suicide. I've already given you a choice. Yun Luofeng paused, then continued. So, in the future, even if you want to commit suicide, you won't be able to. Mu Shen, I'll leave her in your care. I believe you won't let me down. Mu Shen? Hearing this, Mu Wushuang's eyes showed a touch of surprise. She looked up at the young man who was walking towards her. The young man's face was very calm, no longer showing his usual playboy character. His eyes were filled with deep hatred. He sneered at the stunned Mu Wushuang. Mu Wushuang, you probably didn't think that there would be a day like this, haha. In the beginning, Mu Wushuang, who was aloof and did not put anyone in her heart, now could only put down all her attitude and humbly beg for mercy. Speaking of which, it was really ridiculous. Mu Shen. Mu Wushuang was stunned, staring at the young man who appeared in front of her. How could it be you? Did you bring Yun Luofeng and the others here? Mu Shen's lips curled up. He smiled mockingly. That's right. These two words completely made Mu Wushuang fall into madness. Her face twisted. She shouted angrily, Mu Shen, you traitor of the Mu clan, you will die a horrible death. If it wasn't for Yun Luofeng suddenly appearing here, maybe she would have already left with the two people from the Tian clan. Even if she entered the Tian clan and became a medicine person, it would be better than falling into the hands of Yun Luofeng. After all, as a medicine person, as long as she was given a chance, she could trample Tian Ku under her feet. She could even replace her. But now, all her great dreams have been shattered, all because of this traitor Mu Shen. Traitor? Mu Shen sneered. I'm indeed a traitor of the Mu clan, but you're not any better. Grandfather loves you so much, he gave you all the good things since you were young, but you don't care about his life. Are you not a traitor? The young man's words pierced the heart, making Mu Wushuang's heart violently tremble. Suddenly, she knelt down in front of Mu Shen, her hands tightly clasped around his thighs and pleaded, Mu Shen, please let me go, for the sake of our family, please let me go this time, I will repay you in the future. Mu Shen closed his eyes. When he opened them again, the hatred in his eyes turned into mockery. Mu Wushuang, you killed my biological sister. Just this alone is enough for me to take revenge on you. Mu Wushuang's hand gradually loosened and her Shen. Mu of a Shen's Mu. She knew that this time, she was definitely finished. Chen Shen of you Chen today of I moot to you Mu to of to only you can take my life. He no longer addressed Yun Luofeng as a genius doctor, nor as Miss Yun, but directly addressed her as master. The meaning behind his words is very clear. Chapter 283. Facing Mu Shen, who had expressed his loyalty, Yun Luofeng nodded his head lightly. Mu Shen, I will not care about Mu Wushuang's matters in the future. How you deal with her is your problem. With your hatred towards her, it will definitely be better than me dealing with her personally. Yun Luofeng was right. Mu Wushuang had fallen into Mu Shen's hands and could only be tortured to death. Even committing suicide was a luxury for her, and the days of her life would become an eternal nightmare for Mu Wushuang. The matter with the Mu family has been dealt with, now we're going to the palace. Yun Luofeng slightly lowered his eyes, the corners of his mouth raised in an evil smile. That dog emperor, it's time to step down. Palace courtyard. In the strict imperial study, Gao Tu was discussing matters with Gao Ling. Concubine Mu looked at Gao Tu gently from the side and took over the palace maid's work, pouring a cup of tea for Gao Tu from time to time. Your Majesty, something bad has happened. Suddenly, a hurried voice sounded from outside the imperial study. The eunuch did not wait for anyone to report and stumbled into the room. Gao Tu's face darkened. Eunuch Lu, how can you be so reckless? Your Majesty, something bad has happened. Eunuch Lu wiped the sweat from his forehead and said anxiously, Yun Luofeng of the Yun family has captured someone and is here to force the emperor to abdicate. What? Bang! Gao Tu slammed his palm on the table and stood up from the dragon throne, his face ashen. Yun Luofeng? How dare she? How dare she come to force the emperor to abdicate? Does she want me to abdicate so that she can become the emperor? What a joke! It's not her turn to make decisions in Long Yuan country. Your Majesty! Concubine Mu hurriedly stood up and gently stroked Gao Tu's chest, her face full of tenderness. Please calm your anger. Even though I know that the Yun family doesn't know what's good for them, I didn't expect Yun Luofeng to be so ambitious. Don't worry, since ancient times, evil has never prevailed over good. With Yun Luofeng's strength, he doesn't have the ability to go against the millions of soldiers of the imperial family. Hearing Imperial Concubine Mu's words, Gao Tu's expression improved slightly. He fiercely flung his sleeves and walked out of the imperial study with an ashen face. Gao Ling furrowed his brows. He felt that something was amiss, but he couldn't pinpoint what it was. He stopped thinking about it and followed behind Gao Tuesday's swish, swish, swish. Just as they stepped out of the imperial study, a group of people came from the front and surrounded the entire imperial study. As for the guards in the palace, all of them collapsed to the ground, clutching their stomachs as they wailed in pain. Yun Luofeng, how dare you? Gao Ling's face was ashen and he glared at the young girl who was lying lazily in the sedan. He scolded her sternly, who gave you the guts to force me to abdicate? Inside the sedan, Yun Zhao's grim eyes swept across Gao Tuesday. She then picked up a grape from the fruit platter and brought it to Yun Luofeng's mouth. Yun Luofeng gently sucked on Yun Zhao's finger and licked the tip of her finger. His eyes were filled with mirth as he stared devilishly at Gao Tu. I was born with great guts, so I don't need anyone to give me that. Do. Gao Tu pointed angrily at Yun Luofeng. We never thought that the Yun family would be so ambitious. Tell us, does Yun Luo want to be the emperor, or do you want to be the emperor? Yun Luofeng laughed. My apologies, I'm not interested in your throne. Chapter 284. Gao Tu's eyes darkened. Since you have no interest in my throne, what are you doing here? Hearing this, Yun Luofeng's arms rested lazily on the palanquin's handle. He raised his lips and said, It's just that. I don't like you. That's all. I don't like you, so I want you to step down as the emperor. What can you do to me? Gao Tu nearly went mad with anger. He had always thought that he was arrogant enough, but compared to this young girl, he finally understood what it meant to be arrogant and unruly. Apart from this young girl, who else could be so insolent that she did not put the world in her eyes? Yun Luofeng, you're simply too impudent. Guards, take her down. Gao Tu roared and ordered in a cold voice. However, after he spoke, no one came. In the entire palace, only the cries of the guards could be heard. Guards! Gao Tu's expression changed again and he continued to shout, Where the hell are all of you? Hurry up and take her down. The autumn wind rustled and leaves fluttered in the air. A maple leaf floated down in front of Gao Tu, making him look so lonely and sorrowful. No one will come to save you even if you scream until your throat is hoarse. The young girl's voice was filled with evil. Anyone who did not know better would have thought that she was going to do something worse than an animal to Gao Tuesday, Yun Luofeng. Gao Tu gritted his teeth hatefully. His heart wrenched fiercely. What on earth have you done? He did not know what had happened. Even though many guards had fallen to the ground, there were more than a handful of guards in the imperial palace. Why were the others nowhere to be seen? All the guards in the imperial palace have been taken down by my men. Yun Luofeng's lips curved in a demonic manner. No one will come to save you. At this moment, Gao Tu's face turned completely pale and he staggered. Fortunately, Imperial Concubine Mu supported him from behind so that he did not fall. Gao Ling. Yun Luofeng turned to look at Gao Ling. I wonder if you recognize the people around me? Gao Ling, who hadn't paid much attention to Yun Luofeng's words, turned to look at her subordinates. If these people had appeared in front of him on their own, Gao Ling might not have thought of them. However, now that these people were connected to Yun Luofeng, Gao Ling could not help but fall into deep thought. Are these the guards and servant girls that I helped Yun Luo recruit? Gao Ling hesitated for a moment before asking. After all, no one knew the talents of those people better than him. How could they be the well-trained soldiers in front of him? He would never believe it. However, Yun Luofeng's following reply caused his heart to instantly fall into a freezer. That's right. I should be thanking you. If it weren't for you, my Yun family wouldn't have been able to recruit so many people so quickly. Gao Ling's face turned from pale to deathly pale. He clenched his trembling hands tightly as his entire body trembled in the wind. Impossible, the people I found for you were all trash. They wouldn't be able to make much progress even if they worked their entire lives. How could it be these people? Gao Ling's voice was filled with madness and his eyes were filled with disbelief. No one knew these people's abilities better than he did. That was why he refused to believe it no matter what. Chapter 285. Trash. Yun Luofeng's lips curled into a smile, his arrogant and domineering eyes filled with confidence. In my eyes, no one is a piece of trash. Everyone is divided into those who are willing to work hard and those who are unwilling to work hard. As long as one is willing to work hard, even if his talent is inferior to ordinary people, he can still break through extremely quickly. No one was truly useless. His words stirred the hearts of everyone in the Iron Flame Legion. That's right. No one was useless. As long as they put in the effort and hardships, even if their talent was low, they could still stand at the peak of the continent. Master is right. Zhong Linger stood up, her adorable doll face filled with determination. We are not worse than those so-called geniuses, at least we are willing to put in more hardships and efforts than ordinary people. In the past half a year, the members of the army had made rapid breakthroughs. This was not only due to the medicinal liquid. After all, the medicinal liquid was only an auxiliary function. What had truly caused their growth was the sweat that they had put in. For the past half a year, countless days and nights had passed. They had been cultivating tirelessly, forgetting to eat and sleep. No one was willing to fall behind. It was because of their hard work that they had come this far. After saying that, Zhong Linger's aura burst out. At the same time, the others also released their power, covering the sky above the Imperial Palace. High Spiritualist? 10 High Spiritualists? Gao Ling stumbled a few steps back. His entire body slammed heavily into the wall with a loud thud. His pale face was filled with shock and astonishment. How did this happen? Even if you have the ability to turn them from good-for-nothings into geniuses, breaking through to high spiritualists in just half a year isn't something that humans can do. God? Suddenly, this word appeared in Gao Ling's mind. He looked at Yun Luofeng with fear in his eyes. This woman was God. Otherwise, how could that bunch of trash break through so quickly? It was a good thing that Yun Luofeng himself was still trash. Otherwise, this Yun family would really be heaven-defying. Gao Ling, you idiot! Gao Tu finally regained his senses and slapped Gao Ling across the face. Even when Gao Ling's reputation was in shambles, he did not teach him a lesson. But now, because of the Yun family's misfortune, he could not help but strike. His handsome face was ashen. These are the trash you recruited for the Yun family? Gao Ling's body trembled as he smiled bitterly. He knew that no matter what explanation he gave, it would be useless. His imperial father would not believe him. Honestly, the strength of this group of people was too shocking. How could they believe that they were still trash half a year ago? Idiot! Fool! Gao Tu kicked Gao Ling in the chest and shouted, I knew you were stupid, but I didn't expect you to be this stupid. You actually sent these people to the Yun family. If I had known earlier, I wouldn't have let you take over that position. After teaching Gao Ling a lesson, Gao Tu turned to look at Yun Luofeng and scoffed. Yun Luofeng, so what if you have so many high spiritualists? Our imperial family's greatest powerhouse is an advanced spiritualist. He must have found out that you're attacking the imperial palace, so he'll come to deal with you later. Ha! Gao Tu laughed maniacally, his eyes filled with malevolence. The reason why he was so fearless was because of the #1 expert of the imperial family. As long as he was around, anyone who killed anyone from the imperial palace would not be able to leave this place unscathed. Chapter 286. Furthermore, the royal family had the existence of the spiritual sect. No matter how strong you Yun Luofeng are, you can't compare to a colossus like the spiritual sect. Yun Luofeng's hand gently caressed the gold-seeking mouse milk tea that had come out of his sleeve. His slightly raised eyebrows showed a hint of coldness. All these years, my grandfather, as a general of Long Yuan country, has guarded the borders for many years. My parents have even sacrificed their lives for the country. However, as the emperor of a country, you are greedy for beauty, muddle-headed and tyrannical, valuing a lowly person and despising a gentleman. How can you not hurt the feelings of your subjects? So, today, I am here on behalf of my grandfather to teach you a lesson. Just as the young girl finished speaking, an old and hollow laughter suddenly came from the direction of the rear courtyard. Immediately after, an old man with a white beard walked in front of Yun Luofeng with his hands behind his back. His steps were full of vigor, as if he was stepping on clouds. His voice was even faintly discernible as he said indifferently, "Yun family's Luofeng, did that kid Yun Luo allow you to come to the palace to cause trouble, or was it your own idea?" Even though his tone was very indifferent, his pair of old eyes were filled with arrogance. It was as if he did not place Yun Luofeng in his eyes at all. The young girl's entire body was leaning against Yun Zhao's chest. Her evil eyes contained a hint of a smile. "Whether it was my old man who asked me to come or my own idea, it has nothing to do with you. I am here to make this dog emperor step down. Whoever dares to stop me, I will kill them. Arrogant, arrogant. Whoever dares to stop me, I will kill them." In the entire Long Yuan country, who would dare to say such domineering words in front of the strongest person in the royal family? Only Yun Luofeng. He really did not know if this woman was really arrogant and confident, or was she extremely stupid. "Yun family's Luofeng, I don't care what the royal family has done to your Yun family, but you must know one thing. If the emperor wants the subject to die, the subject has no choice but to die. If you disobey the emperor's order, you will be committing the crime of rebellion." The old man's indifferent eyes looked down at Yun Luofeng. His hands were behind his back, his white robes fluttered in the wind. He had the demeanor of an immortal and was full of vigor. Yun Luofeng crossed his legs, slightly raised his arrogant eyes, and looked down at the old man. "I only know one sentence: the winner is king, and the loser is a bandit. If Gao Tu fails, he can only be a bandit. I never knew that a king had to lower his head to a bandit." The old man narrowed his eyes and stared coldly at the young girl lying on the sedan. At this moment, the girl's attitude was arrogant and domineering. Her eyes were like a victorious queen, arrogant and unruly, looking down on the world. Looking at such a domineering girl, the old man suddenly felt a little uncertain. After all, Yun Luofeng's gaze was like that of a monarch. Let alone that idiot Gao Tu, even the sect master of the Spirit Gate didn't have such a gaze. However, as the guardian of the royal family, he could not back down no matter what. "Yun clan's Luofeng with me here today, don't even think of harming a single hair on Gao Tu's head. Moreover, if I were to fight with your Yun clan, there won't be any benefits for your Yun clan. Why don't you give me some face and leave now?" Hearing the old man's words, Yun Luofeng could not help but curl his lips once again. His slightly raised brows revealed a mocking expression. "I wonder how much your face is worth? Are you really worthy of me giving you face?" Her words were filled with provocation and arrogance, causing the old man's expression to instantly change. Chapter 287. It's not a good thing to be too arrogant. If you insist on acting rashly, I will have no choice but to teach you a lesson, you silly little girl. The old man's body suddenly turned into a gust of wind and appeared in front of Yun Luofeng in an instant. He hooked his hand like an eagle's claw, fierce and sharp. His eyes were filled with ruthlessness. Yun Luofeng smiled faintly at the old man's rapidly approaching figure. She did not even try to dodge, and her eyes were filled with smiles. Seeing the young girl's confident attitude, the old man became even more furious and his attacks became even more ferocious. It was as if he wanted to take Yun Luofeng's life in one move. However, just as the old man's hand was a millimeter away from Yun Luofeng's face, a wave of anger suddenly came from above, carrying with it an irresistible force. Who dares to hurt my granddaughter? Bang! A powerful force came from behind, ferocious and fierce. The old man could no longer care about Yun Luofeng in front of him. He hurriedly turned around to face the sudden aura behind him. With a bang, an explosive force spread out from his body. Dust rose up, covering the sky and covering the earth. At the same time, the grim-faced man on the palanquin slowly retracted his hand and continued to feed the fruit to Yun Luofeng as if nothing had happened. This #1 cultivator of the royal family probably did not expect that he would be so close to death. If he had not reacted quickly enough to deal with Yun Luofeng, he might have already lost his life on the spot. Since Yun Luofeng had arrived, Yun Xiao did not plan on taking action. After all, this was a grudge between the Yun family. When the Yun family had the ability to solve the problem, he only needed to watch from the side. If the Yun family could not solve the problem, then he would step in to help. Yun Luo. The old man's face sank when he saw the old man walking towards him. He said coldly, "Looks like you've come just in time. If it weren't for your timely arrival, your granddaughter would have been buried here." Yun Luo chuckled. "Lin Tian, you should be grateful that I've arrived just in time. Otherwise, you would have been the one buried here." His granddaughter had Yun Xiao by her side. What was this old thing, Lin Tian? He could guarantee that this old thing would not even be able to lay a finger on his precious granddaughter. Honestly, this kid Yun Xiao was really reassuring. However, he had wanted to compete with the most powerful cultivator in the imperial family for a long time. Therefore, he couldn't help but come to the imperial palace. Elder Lin. Gao Tu quickly walked to Lin Tian's side and glared hatefully at the mischievous Yun Luo. "This old thing wants to rebel. Please execute him immediately, Elder Lin, as a warning to others." Elder Lin frowned slightly. This Gao Tu was really an idiot. It was obvious that Yun Luo had come prepared. It would not be easy for him to kill him today. Elder Lin pondered for some time and asked, "Yun Luo, have you become an intermediate high spiritualist?" "Not bad." Yun Luo raised his eyebrows and said proudly, "My luck is pretty good. I just broke through to the intermediate high spiritualist not long ago. Therefore, I couldn't help but want to spar with you." Actually, the reason why Yun Luo was able to break through was because of the spirit fruit that Yun Luofeng had given him. Although the old man loved to show off, he still knew his limits. He knew what he could say and what he couldn't. If the existence of the spirit fruit in his granddaughter's hands were to be made public, what awaited the Yun family would be a nightmare. Chapter 288. Sure enough, Lin Tian's face darkened when he heard Yun Luo's words and his eyes flickered with an obscure light. "Elder Lin, what are you waiting for? Even if Yun Luo breaks through, he's only an intermediate high spiritualist. As an advanced high spiritualist, he's definitely not your opponent." Gao Tu became anxious when he saw Elder Lin's hesitation. He could not understand why Elder Lin was so hesitant when facing an intermediate high spiritualist. Elder Lin did not answer Gao Tu's question, but his expression did not look too good. Of course, he was not afraid of Yun Luo but the 100-man army beside Yun Luofeng. Even though Yun Luo was not his opponent, it would not be a problem for him to hold him back for a while. During this time, the 100-man army could destroy the palace in an instant. When the spiritual gate finds out about this, they would definitely be furious and Elder Lin would be charged with the crime of failing to protect the palace. "Yun Luo, the force behind me is the spiritual gate." Lin Tian took a deep breath and decided to tell the truth. Only a few people in the imperial family knew about the existence of the spiritual gate. Even the imperial concubine Mu did not know anything about the spiritual gate. Thus, he was sure that Yun Luo did not know about it. "So what?" Yun Luo sneered, "I've known about this for a long time." Lin Tian's expression became colder. "Since you know about it, why are you still plotting a rebellion?" Hee. Yun Luo curled his lips and laughed mockingly. "That dog of an emperor, Gao Tu, is biased towards the Mu family. I would never forget that in order to save my Xianxia, I had knelt in front of Jing Lin. Even then he didn't order Jing Lin to save her. It was ridiculous that I had gone to guard the border for 10 years for such a person. Now I've finally thought it through. Apart from destroying this incapable emperor, I'm also here to make Jing Lin repent for what he did that day." Boom. Suddenly, Yun Luo's pupils shrank and a domineering aura was released from his body. At this moment, he seemed to have become the famous general who guarded the borders a few months ago. Those who offend the Yun family, no matter who they are, must die. After saying this, Yun Luo clenched his fists and charged towards Lin Tian. His aura was monstrous and he was as sharp as an unsheathed sword. Lin Tian's expression darkened and he bent his hand into an eagle's claw to meet Yun Luo's attack. But a little hamster came out of nowhere and crawled into his pants. With a howl, it bit on the tool he used to carry on his family line. Lin Tian let out a shrill shriek. He couldn't care less about Yun Luo, who was coming towards him. He grabbed his crotch with his eagle claw, wanting to squash the damned hamster into a meat patty. However, after it was done, the little hamster changed its target. It climbed up from Lin Tian's chest and used its sharp teeth to bite Lin Tian's chest again. Humph, this old bastard dared to bully this rat's master just now. Now, he even wanted to fight with master's grandfather. Dream on. In order to be able to eat more elixirs, I can't let you indulge. I must let grandpa vent his anger. Bang. Just as Lin Tian was about to grab the little hamster, Yun Luo's fist landed on Lin Tian's stomach, causing him to take a few steps back. Yun Luo laughed heartily. Lin Tian, aren't you very awesome? Fight me if you can. Ha. Chapter 289. Lin Tian was in agony from the bite and roared angrily, "If you're so capable, wait until I crush this hamster to death before I fight you." Yun Luo rolled his eyes. Even though he had come here to fight Lin Tian, he had only wanted to beat these people up to vent his anger. How could he let go of such a good opportunity? Was he stupid? What hamster? I didn't see it. Yun Luo lied through his teeth. Lin Tian, are you afraid of me? Is that why you're using such a low-level excuse? You. Lin Tian was so angry that his face turned pale. Yun Luo, you shameless villain, who's afraid of you? If this hamster had not burrowed into my clothes, I would have beaten you to the ground in one breath. As he spoke, Lin Tian was bitten again. He could no longer care about Yun Luo and tore his clothes into pieces. Instantly, the little hamster's body was exposed to the sunlight. A hamster dares to attack me? You're looking for death. Lin Tian slammed his palm on his chest. As he had flown into a rage out of humiliation, he had used a lot of strength in his attack. However, the hamster's body was very agile and before his palm could land, it had jumped onto his shoulder. Hence, not only had he failed to kill the little hamster, his chest had turned purple and he could not help but stumble a few steps back. Tsk. Yun Luo grinned at the furious Lin Tian. You know that you can't defeat me, so you want to commit suicide? Lin Tian, I didn't think that you'd be such a coward. You don't even have the courage to fight. As compared to the pain in his body, Lin Tian was more furious at Yun Luo's words. He was so angry that he almost spat out a mouthful of blood. His elderly body trembled as he said, Yun Luo, can't you see the hamster on my body? It's biting me, how am I supposed to fight you? Yun Luo replied in all seriousness, Sorry, I'm blind. I can't see it. As his injuries were not light and coupled with the provocation from Yun Luo's words, Lin Tian spat out a mouthful of black blood. His elderly face was now deathly pale. Yun Luo, you shameless bastard. This fellow must have done it on purpose. He did not believe that he could not see such a huge hamster. The hamster squeaked twice and used its two sharp front teeth to bite Lin Tian's shoulder. Its bite was very forceful, and blood could be seen with a single bite. It was no wonder that Lin Tian no longer had the heart to fight with Yun Luo. Unfortunately, Yun Luo absolutely wouldn't let go of this kind of good opportunity to trample on him. Lin Tian, even if you don't have the courage to fight me today, I won't let go of the chance to fight you. So, let's have a fair fight. Both of us will be barehanded and will not use any weapons. Fair? You fucking have the nerve to talk about fairness in such a righteous manner? From the beginning to the end, he had never seen such a shameless person. This old fellow didn't even want his face anymore. What else could he say to him? Just as Lin Tian was about to face Yun Luo's attack, the little hamster that was hiding on his body bit him again. Due to the intense pain, Lin Tian's movements paused for a moment. At the same time, Yun Luo's fist landed firmly on his chest. With a loud bang, Lin Tian's body was sent flying and he spat out 3 liters of blood as he fell to the ground. His eyes were filled with rage as he said, "Yun Luo, if you really have the ability, let me crush this hamster to death before I fight you." Just as Lin Tian's voice had fallen, Milk Tea strode towards Lin Tian on his short legs. He raised his little hamster's head and stared down at Lin Tian complacently. Chapter 290. Squeak, squeak, squeak. Milk Tea called out to Lin Tian twice. Her big round eyes were full of provocation. Her expression seemed to be saying, "If you have the ability, come and pinch me to death. If you don't have the ability, then what are you doing? Damned hamster, you're the first one I'll kill." Lin Tian understood the emotions in Milk Tea's eyes. He roared and leaped up, his eagle claws reaching for Milk Tea's small body. Bang! Before Lin Tian's attack reached her, Milk Tea dodged it agilely. The eagle claws that were descending went straight into the ground. Then, a wail was suddenly heard. "Damned hamster, don't run away if you have the ability." Lin Tian's hand was stuck in the ground. He felt a burning pain in his entire finger, and his face couldn't help but twist. His entire body emitted a monstrous aura, and it was obvious that he was extremely angry. Milk Tea turned around and called out to Lin Tian a few times. She seemed to be saying, "Don't run away. Am I stupid?" In his anger, Lin Tian didn't care about anything else. He bared his fangs and brandished his claws at Milk Tea, who was escaping quickly. Unfortunately, Lin Tian, who was chasing after Milk Tea, didn't feel Yun Luo's aura suddenly appear behind him. Bang! A powerful force assaulted Lin Tian from behind, causing him to stagger and fall flat on his face, sprawling on the ground. Then he leaped up and turned around to attack Yun Luo. However, just as he gave up chasing after Milk Tea and attacked Yun Luo, Milk Tea, the little hamster, appeared out of nowhere. It slithered onto Lin Tian's back and opened its mouth to bite him. Lin Tian screamed in pain. He stretched his palm backward and grabbed Milk Tea, who was on his back. His hand was as slippery as if it was smeared with oil. The little hamster slipped through his palm and ran in the direction behind him. Lin Tian wanted to continue chasing after Milk Tea, but he had only taken a few steps when Yun Luo took the opportunity to attack him. When he wanted to find trouble with Yun Luo, Milk Tea ran out and attacked his back again. Facing this shameless human and hamster, Lin Tian went completely crazy. He roared angrily, and his disheveled hair was scattered behind him. He looked like a real lunatic. Yun Luo, I'm going to tear you and this damned hamster to pieces." Lin Tian's trousers had been shaken off by the berserk energy in his body. He waved his arms furiously as he charged towards Milk Tea. He no longer cared about Yun Luo, who was throwing punches at him from time to time. All he wanted to do was to squash this troublemaking little hamster to death. He knew that as long as the little hamster was alive, he would never have a fair fight with Yun Luo. "Linian, why are you running? If you're a man, then stop and fight with me. What's the point of running away?" Yun Luo laughed out loud as he chased after Lin Tian. His spiritual energy seemed to be free of charge as it struck Lin Tian's body. Lin Tian staggered and almost fell to the ground. Even though he was enraged, he did not stop chasing after the hamster. Hence, the entire palace could see a hamster running crazily in front, and 2 old men chasing it from behind. Yun Luofeng leaned lazily on Yun Zhao's body as she watched the chase with interest. She saw that Milk Tea was not in any danger and that the old man was having fun. Hence, she did not step forward to stop this farce. Instead, she turned her gaze towards Gao Tu, who was ready to make a move. Chapter 291. Qin Yan, Zhong Linger, what do you think we should do with these people? She raised the corner of her lips and narrowed her eyes with a dangerous glint. Zhong Linger blinked, her bright and lovely eyes filled with ridicule. "Master, although Gao Ling is stupid and the emperor is biased, these people from the royal family don't deserve to die." Yun Luofeng raised his eyebrows and motioned for Zhong Linger to continue. "So." Zhong Linger paused for a moment, then said, "This subordinate has an idea. Master can cripple Gao Tu's strength and imprison him. Let him watch how the Yun family, which he once looked down on, grow step by step until they finally stand at the peak of the continent. Weren't you biased towards the Mu family at the time? It was precisely because Mu Wushuang was a member of the royal family that you allowed Gao Ling to bully your master and acquiesce to all of Gao Ling and Mu Wushuang's actions. Therefore, Zhong Linger wanted these people to watch the Yun family grow step by step and let Gao Tu spend the rest of his life in regret. That's a good idea. Yun Luofeng stroked his chin and said, Zhong Linger, do you have anything else to say? Zhong Linger was silent for a moment. This is a punishment for Gao Tu and his son. As for imperial concubine Mu, many things were caused by her and she is a member of the Mu family. We must cut the weeds and eliminate the roots. Before Gao Tu knew Mu Wushuang's identity, many things had indeed happened because of imperial concubine Mu. It was because of her pillow talk that Gao Tu was biased towards the Mu family. Moreover, it was also because of her that Gao Tu acquiesced to Jing Lin's actions. This was the eternal hatred in Master Yun's heart. If he didn't eradicate the Mu family, he wouldn't be able to erase that painful memory. Qingyan, do you have anything else to add? Yun Luofeng's lips curled into a smile as he turned to look at the little servant girl beside him. Qingyan looked at Yun Luofeng. Miss, I think Zhong Linger's idea is very good, but I would like to add one more condition. That is, let Gao Tu and his son become Milk Tea's playmates. Milk Tea is very lonely without any playmates. Milk Tea? Hearing Qingyan's words, Gao Tu's face turned white. He looked in horror at the little hamster running wildly in front of him, his eyes revealing a deep fear. Become this little thing's playmate? It would be better to just let him die. Of course, this was what Gao Tu thought in his heart, but a person like him who was afraid of death would absolutely not commit suicide. He would rather live in pain than die in despair. Yun Xiao, what do you think? Yun Luofeng turned his gaze towards Yun Xiao and asked. Yun Xiao's voice was as cold and grim as ever. However, her words made one's heart feel extremely warm. As long as you're happy. As long as she felt happy, he would support her no matter what she did. Even if she wanted to slaughter everyone in the world, he would not leave her side. Yun Luofeng. When Gao Tu saw that these people had casually decided on his order, his face darkened and he said, Don't forget, the imperial family is backed by the Spirit Order. Do you think you have the strength to fight against Spirit Gate? I already knew about the existence of the Spirit Gate before I came here. Yun Luofeng raised his eyes towards Gao Ling and spoke in an indifferent tone. Since I still dared to cause trouble for the royal family despite knowing about the Spirit Gate, do you think that I would be scared off by your words? Gao Tu's expression changed once again. The Spirit Gate was his safeguard. If even this safeguard was useless, he would have no way of facing the Yun family's 100-man army. Chapter 292. Just as Gao Tu was thinking of a countermeasure, Lin Tian finally exhausted all of his energy. He could not help but stop in his tracks. He panted as he looked at the little hamster that had been maintaining a distance of about 10 meters from him. His old face was filled with anger. When I catch you, I'll crush you into a meat patty. This damned little thing was just an ordinary gold-seeking rat. A spiritual beast like the gold-seeking rat would only be able to stay at the low spiritualist rank for its entire life. How could it run so fast? Of course, the gold-seeking rat that Lin Tian knew was in the hands of others. Yun Luofeng's gold-seeking rat must be an existence that surpassed everyone's knowledge, so how could he catch up to it? Hee, I'm afraid you won't have the chance. Yun Luo looked at Lin Tian with a mocking gaze as he nibbled on a spirit fruit. His expression was very leisurely and his entire being was very relaxed. It was as if the person who had been chasing after Lin Tian just now wasn't him. Yun Luo. Lin Tian turned around angrily. Why are you fine after running for so long and hitting me so many times? This old fellow was weaker than him, and even he had no energy left, so how could this old thing still be so relaxed? He did not even take a deep breath? In reality, the reason why Yun Luo was so relaxed was related to the spirit fruit in his hand. When a high spiritualist consumed the first spirit fruit, they could instantly break through to the next level, but the second spirit fruit would not have any effect. However, this effect was only for increasing one's strength. For someone like the old man who ate the spirit fruit like a normal fruit, even if he could not use the spirit fruit to continue increasing his strength, he could still use it to recover his spiritual power and increase his physical strength. This was also why the old man did not take a deep breath after running for so long and using so much spiritual power. When the people from the Steel Flame Corps saw the old man nibbling on a spirit fruit while chasing Lin Tian, their hearts could not help but twitch. Such a good thing was wasted by him just like that. However, the others could not recognize the spirit fruit in Yun Luo's hand and only treated it as a normal fruit. Therefore, they did not pay much attention to it and were only shocked by the old man's strong physical strength. Do you want to know why my physical strength is so strong? Even my spiritual power is inexhaustible? The old man threw away the core of the fruit in his hand and looked at Lin Tian with disdain. GG. When the hamster saw this, it stopped in its tracks and ran toward the core that the old man had thrown on the ground. It grabbed the core and ran to the side to gnaw on it. Why? Lin Tian ignored the little hamster and asked in a puzzled tone. He still could not understand. Yun Luo's strength was clearly a level lower than his, so why was he not even panting after running for so long? Yun Luo's shameless face disappeared and was replaced by a solemn expression. Facing such a serious Yun Luo, Lin Tian temporarily put away the anger in his heart and waited for his reply. That's because... Yun Luo stroked his snow-white beard and replied seriously, "You often visit brothels and your body has been squeezed dry. Of course you're weaker. How can you compare to a proper person like me? Old man, you're already so old. You'd better take good care of your body. Don't always let those women drain you dry." Lin Tian originally thought that Yun Luo would really answer his question, but who knew that this old fellow would actually say something like this, and it angered him to the point he almost spat out another mouthful of blood. Chapter 293. What did he mean by visiting a brothel? What did he mean by his body had been hollowed out by those women? He had been in closed-door cultivation every day, so when had he ever visited a brothel? He should have guessed that this old thing, Yun Luo, would never say anything nice. Waiting for him to answer your question? Dream on. Yun Luo, even if I die today, I will drag you down with me. Lin Tian's eyes were bloodshot as he charged towards Yun Luo as if he had been possessed. Even if he dies, he would never let this shameless old thing off. On the palanquin, Yun Shao stared at Lin Tian, who was charging towards Old Master Yun, as a cold glint flashed across his deep, black eyes. He slowly raised his hand and a wave of spiritual energy shot out from his sleeve, hitting Lin Tian's leg with a loud bang. At this moment, Lin Tian had just rushed in front of Lord Master when he was caught off guard and was struck by the spiritual energy. His legs couldn't withstand the weight of the spiritual energy and he knelt down in front of Lord Master. That's right. He had indeed knelt down, but his knees were trembling non-stop and he could not even stand up. Tsk tisk. Master Yun placed his hands on his hips as he smiled at Lin Tian, who was kneeling in front of him. Lin Tian, even if you know that you're in the wrong, there's no need for you to kneel before me. Besides, even if you do, I won't forgive you. You. Lin Tian's face was filled with anger and humiliation as he glanced behind him with a pair of sharp eyes. Who was it? Who was the one who launched a sneak attack on me? Step forward. Bang. Just as Lin Tian was investigating the person who had launched a sneak attack, a hard rock flew towards him and hit his head. Immediately after, Milk Tea walked towards him with her short little legs and squeaked in ridicule. Lin Tian completely broke down. He wanted to crawl up from the ground, but before he could straighten his knees, a powerful pressure pressed towards him from the direction of the sedan and pressed his body fiercely onto the ground. Ha, Lin Tian, weren't you very capable in the past? To think that there would be a day where you would kneel down like me. Yun Luo roared with laughter as he sent Lin Tian's body flying with a single palm strike. After that, he leapt up and rode on Lin Tian's body as his fists rained down like a torrential storm. The old man fought fiercely, wanting to vent all the grievances he had endured over the years. However, the grim man on the sedan nonchalantly picked up a grape and placed it next to Yun Luofeng's mouth. There was no expression on his handsome face. It was as if the person who had suppressed Lin Tian was not him. Lin Tian spat out a mouthful of blood after being beaten by Grandpa Lin. There was not a single part of his face that was left intact. He was probably beaten so badly that even his mother would not be able to recognize him. When the old master's last punch landed, Lin Tian couldn't take it anymore and fainted. Seeing this, the old man felt rather bored. He got down from Yangming's body and clicked his tongue. How boring. This old thing's an advanced spiritualist, but he's so weak that he fainted after just a few hits. How many times? Hearing this, everyone couldn't help but twitch the corner of their mouths. Grandpa Lin had hit him a few hundred times, but in the end, he actually said that he had only hit him a few times? Little girl, I'll leave the aftermath to you. I, your grandfather, am going to find someone to drink tea and chat with. Grandpa Lin placed his hands behind his back and raised his head. His face was filled with complacency. It's really not worth wasting my precious time on these people. Yun Luofeng looked at the radiant Grandpa Lin and the corners of his lips curled into a smile. Have you vented enough? Chapter 294. Vent? What do you mean vent? Master Dong Tian glared at Yun Luofeng. I was just exchanging pointers with him. How is that venting? Do you think that I'm such a shameless villain? Once he had spoken, Master Dongtun stroked his beard and continued in a serious manner. This was a fair competition between us. Do you understand what fairness is? I had defeated him because his skills were not as good as mine. If Lin Tian had heard Master Dongtian's shameless words, he would have been angered to death. It was a good thing that Lin Tian had fainted earlier on, so he had managed to escape this calamity. Yun Luofeng was already aware of this old man's character, so she was not surprised at all. She gently raised her brow and glanced at her with a smile that did not reach her eyes. Then go back and wait for me. I'll go home once I'm done here. Ha, I'll wait for you at home. Yun Luofeng burst into laughter. His face was filled with satisfaction as he puffed out his chest and walked out of the imperial palace. He soon disappeared from Yun Luofeng's sight. Once the old man had left, Yun Luofeng retracted her gaze and glanced at Gao Tu and his son with her pitch-black eyes. Her eyes were filled with an evil smile. It's your turn now. I think that Zhong Linger and Qingyan's suggestion isn't bad. Since you've looked down on the Yun family, I'll show you how the Yun family rises to the pinnacle of the mainland. Gao Tu's expression changed instantly when he heard this. Yun Luofeng, are you really not afraid of the Spirit Order's revenge? His voice trembled, and it was obvious that he no longer had his initial confidence. After all, even if the cultivators from the Spirit Order were to rush over, they would need a few days to do so. In that time, that hateful little hamster would certainly have killed them all. You'll find out soon enough whether we're afraid of the Spirit Order or not. The young girl's peerlessly beautiful face lit up with an evil smile. Everyone from the Steel Flame Regiment, hear my order. As she spoke, her voice became extremely loud and clear. Her voice echoed throughout the imperial palace. Instantly, everyone from the Steel Flame Regiment straightened their backs as if they were soldiers obeying an order. Take these people back to the general's mansion. If anyone resists, kill without mercy. Gao Tu and the others felt a chill run down their spines when they heard the words kill without mercy. Their entire bodies were surrounded by a sharp aura, causing them to not even dare to breathe loudly. However, when he saw the Steel Flame Legion pressing down on him, Gao Ling struggled and shouted, Yun Luofeng, are you really going to be so heartless? I know that I have eyes but failed to see. I shouldn't have chosen Mu Wushuang instead of you. I also know that you are retaliating against me for my choice. As long as you let me go, I am willing to listen to you. Yun Luofeng sneered in his heart when he saw the fear in Gao Ling's eyes. I wonder what the previous owner of this body saw in Gao Ling that she would even give up her life for such a man. Such a cowardly and useless person who was greedy for life and afraid of death could not be considered a man. Bring him back. The girl's voice was merciless, causing Jailing's heart to sink. His body stiffened as he allowed the Steel Flame Legion to drag him away. Yun Xiao, when we get back, I'll be waiting for an explanation from you. Yun Luofeng curled the corners of his lips and turned his dark eyes towards Yun Xiao with a smile that did not reach his eyes. I want to know what the Ghost Emperor's identity is all about. Chapter 295. It was nighttime and the moonlight was as clear as water. In the young girl's boudoir, A pleasant fragrance wafted through the air. The snow-white curtains fluttered gently in the wind, as if a gentle hand was gently caressing the young girl's peerlessly beautiful face. The man stood behind her and his grim black eyes stared straight at the young girl in front of him. I have no ulterior motives for coming to the Yun family home. He had come here only for her sake. As he spoke, the man's face was as expressionless as ever. However, the flash of nervousness in his eyes betrayed his inner feelings. He was afraid. He was afraid that Yun Luofeng would misunderstand him. If she had misunderstood him, he would not know how to win back her trust. And then, the young girl's voice was neither cold nor indifferent. There was no emotion in her voice, and it was impossible to tell what she was thinking. Yun Xiao stared blankly. Suddenly, he strode in front of the young girl and fiercely pulled her into his arms. He forcefully rubbed her body tightly as he lowered his eyes and quietly stared at the young girl in his arms. The young girl did not move and allowed Yun Xiao to hold her. Seeing Yun Luofeng like this made him feel even more nervous. "Trust me, I would never do anything to hurt you. The Ghost Emperor is just a title that outsiders have given me. In the Yun family, there is no Ghost Emperor, only Yun Xiao. In the Yun family, there is no Ghost Emperor, only Yun Xiao." Yun Luofeng felt a wave of warmth flow through her heart. She gently pushed the man who was holding her away and raised her head to stare at the grim and handsome face in front of her. "Yun Xiao, when we first met, you were badly injured and had fallen from the wall. I want to know, someone as powerful as you, how did you end up so badly injured that day?" Yun Xiao thought for a moment before replying. "The cultivation method that I practice is a little special. The injury that day was caused by me falling into a frenzied state while I was cultivating and injured myself. By the time I had regained my senses, I was already badly injured. Furthermore, there were many people who wanted to snatch my cultivation method. In order to prevent them from finding out where I would change my location every time I finished cultivating. Who would have thought that I would injure myself so badly that I fainted just as I was about to leave?" "Cultivation method?" Yun Luofeng gently furrowed his brows. "What cultivation method do you practice?" Yun Xiao looked at Yun Luofeng and replied honestly, "The cultivation method that I practice is called the Heavenly Spirit Technique." "Heavenly Spirit Technique?" While Yun Luofeng was hesitating, Little Mo's surprised voice came from her soul. "Master, I know about this Heavenly Spirit cultivation method. I never thought that Yun Zhao's luck would be so good to actually obtain this Heavenly Spirit cultivation method. Furthermore, this Heavenly Spirit cultivation method is the most suitable cultivation method for a corporeal spiritual body to cultivate. However, every time the Heavenly Spirit cultivation method breaks through a layer, at the same time as his cultivation base rises, he will indeed enter a state of madness. He will completely not recognize his own family and will even hurt himself." Yun Luofeng's heart sank when he heard Little Mo's words. "Is there a solution?" Yun Luofeng didn't notice in the slightest that the eyes of the little fellow in the divine grimoire space lit up after he asked the question. "Yes, of course there is. The next time Yun Xiao breaks through, Master, you can dual cultivate with him. As long as he dual cultivates with you, his madness will not flare up." Yun Luofeng gently stroked his chin and did not reply to Xiao Mo's question. Instead, he turned his gaze towards Yun Xiao once again. "Then why have you come to the Yun family? Just because I saved you and saw your face under the mask, you want me to take responsibility?" Chapter 296. Yun Zhao's black eyes stared unblinkingly at Yun Luofeng. "Back then, when I came to find you, I said something. The feeling of being by your side made me feel very comfortable. I didn't lie to you when I said that. As long as I stand by your side, my entire body feels comfortable." Ever since he started cultivating the Heavenly Spirit skill, his soul would often experience a tearing pain. However, as long as he stood by Yun Luofeng's side, he would feel that his body and soul were surrounded by a warm spiritual energy. It was incomparably comfortable. Yun Luofeng raised his eyebrows. "I didn't know I had this ability?" That day, Yun Xiao had indeed said something like this, but she didn't care. That little fellow Xiao Mo must have understood what he meant but didn't tell her. "Yun Xiao, this is why you came to the Yun family to find me." Yun Xiao nodded honestly. That was indeed the case in the beginning. Then what about now? Now. He paused, then said, I want to be responsible for you. Since you aren't willing to be responsible for me, then I will be responsible for you to the end. In this lifetime, you won't be able to escape my clutches. The man's voice was firm and sincere, causing Yun Luofeng's heart to tremble. His pitch-black eyes stared at the man standing in front of him. Yun Xiao, no matter where you are in the future, when you have a breakthrough in the heavenly spirit skill, come to the Yun family to find me. Yun Xiao didn't understand the meaning of Yun Luofeng's words and frowned slightly. I won't leave this place. Wherever you are, that is my home. Yun Luofeng smiled helplessly. Yun Xiao, it is impossible for you to stay by my side for the rest of your life. You will always temporarily leave my side because of your own matters, but no matter what you leave for, as long as you are about to break through, you must return to my side. I can help you cure your madness. In this lifetime, to have met such a foolish man like Yun Xiao, what reason did she have not to cherish him? If it was to prevent Yun Xiao from hurting herself, she was willing to duel cultivate with him. All right. Yun Xiao's brows furrowed deeply as he looked at Yun Luofeng. I believe you. As long as she said it, he would firmly believe it. Even if she fed him a bowl of poison one day, as long as she said it wasn't poison, he would drink it without hesitation. Yun Xiao, I won't bicker with you over the fact that you've lied to me. Yun Luofeng gently narrowed his eyes. However, if there's anything else you're hiding from me, you can say it now. Upon hearing this, Yun Xiao fell silent. After a long while, he finally spoke. Actually, I'm not an orphan. My parents are still alive, but I left them when I was young. A solemn expression appeared on Yun Luofeng's face. Continue. I was a good-for-nothing since I was young. I couldn't cultivate. Therefore, when I was 7 years old, I was chased out of the clan. I was stripped of my surname and removed from the clan. The surname Xiao was given to me by my mother before she passed away. The man's words caused Yun Luofeng's heart to feel stifled. No wonder when she had first asked Yun Xiao for his surname, he had only said that his first name was Xiao and he didn't have a surname. So, he actually had such a past. Yun Xiao, then why are you trapped in the forest of no return? Who threw you into that kind of place? It's my father's woman. Yun Xiao's gaze became even colder. My mother was born lowly, but her talents were outstanding. Thus, he took a fancy to my mother and thought that with my mother's talents, the next generation would be even more talented. But who would have thought that I was a good-for-nothing? Chapter 297. Since I was a good-for-nothing, my mother was of no use to me. So, he demoted my mother from a wife to a concubine and married someone else. On the day he married someone else, my name was removed from the clan hall and I was chased out of the family. At the same time, his new wife sent someone to throw me into the forest of no return. With each sentence that Yun Xiao said, Yun Luofeng's heart sunk a little. She has never seen a father so cruel that he would chase his own son out of the family and let him perish on his own. Yun Xiao. Yun Luofeng stretched out his arms and gently embraced Yun Xiao's body. He lowered his head and said word by word, Don't worry, I will definitely avenge you. No one can live well after hurting you. No matter how powerful the enemy he faces, she will face them together with him and never abandon him in life or death. Yun Xiao was shocked. He raised his arms and hugged Yun Luofeng's body. His initially cold and grim features curled into a shallow angle. I have you now. That's enough. The torment he had experienced when he was young had shaped his current callousness and sharpened his heart to become incomparably cruel. However, only in front of the young girl in his arms would he lower his guard and willingly become gentle. As if remembering something, Yun Xiao continued, The Xiao family does not seem to know that this woman had once thrown me into the forest of no return. Hence, the Xiao family members seem to be searching for me on this mainland. The forest of no return was a place of no return. If he had been thrown into the forest of no return, the Xiao family would certainly think that he had lost his life. No matter what, they would never send anyone to search for his whereabouts. They're looking for you? Yun Luofeng raised his brows, but a cold smile appeared in his eyes. That day, they were the ones who had chased you out of the family. Why are they looking for you now? Yun Xiao shook his head. I don't know. After saying this, he paused and added, "No matter why they're looking for me, I will never return to the Xiao family. This is the only place where I should stay." Yun Luofeng gently stroked his chin. "Do those people know of your current level of power?" "In the outside world, I wear a mask so no one knows that I am the Ghost Emperor." Hearing this, Yun Luofeng fell into deep thought. Those people did not know Yun Zhao's strength, so why were they looking for him? Yun Luofeng would never believe that he didn't have a motive. "Yun Xiao, no matter what kind of difficulties you face, I will face them together with you." The young girl's words caused the man's heart to tremble slightly. His black eyes were no longer as cold as before. "I don't want to see the Xiao family. It's not that I'm afraid of them, it's just that I don't want those people to taint my eyes and my hands." The man's expression was exceptionally serious as he stared straight at Yun Luofeng. "My eyes only need to look at you. My hands are only used to hug you. My strength is also used to protect you. No one else is worth it." Yun Xiao wasn't someone who knew how to say sweet nothings, but every word he said was very sincere, making people involuntarily believe him. The corners of Yun Luofeng's lips curled into a smile. "Yun Xiao, you don't want those people to taint your hands, but I can't tolerate anyone who has ever bullied you or hurt you. One day I will make them live in regret." Chapter 298. She was naturally protective of her own people. Yun Xiao belonged to her. She would not allow anyone who had hurt him to live. The Imperial Palace. The Imperial Palace was in a state of chaos. Gao Tu and Gao Ling had been captured by the Yun family, and all the princes were vying for the throne. Hence, the previously majestic Imperial Palace was now embroiled in a civil war. The fourth prince's mansion. Gao Xiaochen gently swirled the teacup in his hand as a warm smile appeared on his handsome, jade-like face. His eyes were mixed with a cunning and sinister light, just like a fox, making it impossible for anyone to guess what he was thinking. "Your Highness, aren't we going to fight for the throne?" Gao Xiaochen's confidant looked at the handsome man who was leisurely sipping his tea and hesitated for a moment before asking in confusion. Gao Xiaochen laughed lightly. "These people are too stupid. The throne is not something they can fight for. Without the permission of the spiritual gate, the royal family of Long Yuan country will not change hands." This was also the reason why he had bided his time for so many years. Unless he moved the spiritual gate, he would not be able to ascend to the throne. "Everyone is drunk, only I am sober. Is this how people like you are described?" Suddenly, a cold laugh rang out, instantly causing Gao Xiaochen's heart to sink to the bottom of the valley. Since when did someone sneak into the fourth prince's mansion? Why didn't I notice anything? Gao Xiaochen's eyes narrowed as he looked at the woman sitting on the wooden chair in the study. The woman was dressed in green, with a jade pendant tied around her waist. She had a purple veil draped over her body, and a faint smile hung on her beautiful face. She rested her chin on her hand as she looked at Gao Xiaochen, who was stunned by her sudden appearance. "However, your vigilance is too weak. I've been here for a long time, but you didn't notice me." Gao Xiaochen's eyes darkened as he asked coldly, "Who are you?" The woman in green laughed lightly and walked down from the chair. Her footsteps were light and graceful, as if a lotus flower was blooming with each step. "I'm here to ask you one thing. Do you want to be the emperor of Long Yuan country?" Gao Xiaochen looked suspiciously at the woman in green. "Who are you? Why can you decide who the emperor of Long Yuan country belongs to?" "Who am I?" The green-robed woman raised an eyebrow. "Your father and brothers should know. Unfortunately, they were captured by the Yun family. Since that's the case, I'll tell you who I am." After speaking, the green-robed woman paused for a moment before continuing, "I am Xian, the eldest daughter of the spiritual sect. Do you think I have the right to decide the ownership of your throne?" "Spirit Gate?" Gao Xiaochen was startled. When he heard the green-robed woman's words, his cunning fox eyes did not show any joy. Instead, they were filled with seriousness. "Why are you helping me?" Xian swept a glance at Gao Xiaochen and continued, "Our spiritual sect has always had a rule that we would never choose a smart person to ascend the throne from the secular world. Our goal is to prevent those smart people from turning against us. But I don't think so. I'm only interested in someone as smart as you." Gao Tu and Gao Ling are too stupid and boring. If it was someone else, they might have believed Xian's words. But what kind of person was Gao Xiaochen? He had always been the one tricking others. No one had ever tricked him. He would never believe that Xian had no ulterior motives. Miss Xian, after I become the emperor, what do you want me to do for you? Chapter 299. You are indeed not someone who is easily fooled. Xian raised her eyebrows, and because of this, I am even more interested in you. She was confident that even if Gao Xiaochen were to ascend the throne as the emperor, he would not be able to escape from her grasp. That's right. Facing Gao Xiaochen's fox-like gaze, Xian went straight to the point and said, I indeed have a motive for making you the emperor of Long Yuan country. Gao Xiaochen smiled warmly. Then may I know your motive? Hearing this, Xian looked at him once more. Yesterday, when the Mu family was massacred, I was amongst the crowd. Hence, I recognized the cold man beside Yun Luofeng. He is the person I have always been looking for. However, because the man's vigilance was too high, Xian did not dare to look at him more than a few times, afraid that she would attract his attention. Hence, she pretended to be an ordinary bystander, to avoid the man's sensitive vigilance. Even so, the man had still noticed her inadvertent glance. If she had not retracted her gaze quickly, he might have noticed it. Are you sure? Gao Xiaochen's expression froze, and he asked solemnly. Xian nodded. The first time I saw him was in my father's study. He was wearing a mask, and when he walked past me, it was as if he did not sense my presence. He did not even look at me, he was incomparably cold. It was because of his cold and strong aura that I was infatuated with him. Yesterday, even if he did not wear a mask, I could still recognize him from his figure and aura. Thinking of the man's extreme gentleness towards that beautiful girl, there was a kind of burning jealousy in her heart. If not for the fact that her father had warned her that anyone who coveted this man would not have a good ending, perhaps she would have rushed out on the spot, and would not have used all her strength to restrain herself. Gao Xiaochen's eyes flashed a few times. Miss Xian, if that's the case, then why don't you go and snatch him from Yun Luofeng? Xian's face revealed a hint of mockery. I can see that he likes Yun Luofeng, otherwise he would not have stayed by his side without saying a word. If I forcefully rush out and snatch him, I will definitely arouse his disgust. And I want his heart, not his person. In reality, if not for Yun Zhao's overwhelming strength, Xian would definitely have done something like snatching someone else's man. It was precisely because he feared Yun Zhao's strength that he did not dare to do such a thing. Of course, she would never tell Gao Xiaochen about this. Otherwise, Gao Xiaochen would not have been so easily. I didn't expect Miss Xian to be so affectionate. A smile appeared on Gao Xiaochen's gentle, jade-like face as a light flickered in his eyes. However, until now, you still haven't told me what you want me to do. Xian laughed softly. I've already heard that you like Yun Luofeng of the Yun family. Since that's the case, Yun Luofeng belongs to you, and Yun Shao belongs to me. How about that? As long as you promise me this, I can send someone from the Soul Order to help you. The position of Emperor of Long Yuan country will also belong to you. It goes without saying that Xian's offer was very tempting. If he agreed, not only could he become the Emperor of Long Yuan country, he could also obtain Yun Luofeng. However, Gao Xiaochen fell silent. Based on his cunning nature, he would not trust someone so easily. After a long while, he seemed to understand something and his handsome face turned even more serious. Chapter 300. I'll only ask you one thing. If I do this for you, will you hurt Yun Luofeng? A woman who has fallen in love is very deranged and will do extremely cruel things to her love rivals. This was why Gao Xiaochen had asked this question. That's right, he does want Yun Luofeng, but he does not want her to suffer any harm. Gao Xiaochen, I never thought that you'd be such an infatuated person. Xian curled the corners of her lips and said with a small smile, don't worry, as long as I have Yun Shao, I won't hurt her. However, based on Yun Luofeng's tenacious nature, I'm afraid that she won't submit to you so easily. Hence, you need to wait for Yun Shao to leave before sending someone to snatch Yun Luofeng into the palace and take her by force. Once you've taken her, I'll find a way to control her and make her obey you for the rest of her life. Why do I have to wait for Yun Xiao to leave? Gao Xiaoqin frowned as a light flickered in his fox eyes. With him around, you won't be able to snatch Yun Luofeng away. Si Xian glanced at Gao Xiaoqin. After all, I can't use too much of the Spirit Order's power, and that man is very vigilant. You won't be able to lure him away even if you use any tricks. All you can do is wait. He's a very busy man and can't stay in the Yun family home all the time. What she did not tell Gao Xiaoqin was that even if all the cultivators of the Spirit Order were to come, they would not be able to do anything to Yun Xiao. Of course, if she had told him the truth, Gao Xiaoqin would certainly be so frightened that he would not dare to make a move. As for controlling Yun Luofeng, she really did not have one. She was only trying to trick Gao Xiaoqin. As long as Yun Luofeng loses Gao Xiaoqin, Yun Xiao will never be able to continue to love him. By then, she only needs to find the right time to appear in front of Yun Xiao and comfort his heartbroken self. It would not be difficult for him to accept her. Gao Xiaoqin thought for a moment before he nodded. All right, I promise you. Once Yun Xiao has left the Yun family home, I'll inform you. Then I'll wait for your good news. Si Xian gently narrowed her beautiful eyes and the smile on her pretty face deepened. I hope that you don't disappoint me. Then, her figure turned into a wisp of green smoke and quickly rushed out the door. She quickly disappeared from Gao Xiaoqin's line of sight. Your Highness, the confidant looked in the direction Si Xian had left and asked, can this person be trusted? Gao Xiaoqin's face darkened. We can't believe it. He knew that Si Xian could not be trusted, but there was nothing he could do. After all, Ling Men was the master behind the royal family. If he wanted to ascend to the throne, he could only listen to her orders. She could only hope that Si Xian would really keep her promise and not harm Yun Luofeng after she had obtained Yun Xiao. Due to the appearance of Si Xian, the chaotic Long Yuan country finally calmed down. What shocked everyone was that the person who ascended the throne was actually the previously inconspicuous fourth prince, Gao Xiaoqin. Everyone knew that the fourth prince, Gao Xiaoqin, was not outstanding in any other aspect besides his good looks. Of course, he was not a clumsy person either. Therefore, the people of Long Yuan country did not expect that he would be able to defeat so many princes and ascend the throne. However, after Gao Xiaoqin ascended to the throne, not only did he restore Yun Luo's officers to their former positions, he even declared that he would hand over the millions of soldiers to Yun Luo. However, even though he had said so, the token that could command the millions of soldiers was never handed over to Yun Luo. On this day, due to some unforeseen events that had happened to Yun Xiao's power, he had to deal with it. Hence, he temporarily left the Yun family home. However, not long after he had left, a group of guards from the imperial palace strode in and surrounded the entire general's mansion in an instant. Chapter 301. What happened? Yun Luo hurriedly walked out and saw the entire courtyard filled with people from the palace. His elderly features sank as he asked, what is your Imperial Majesty planning to do? Or could it be that he also plans to become enemies with the Yun family? At this moment, Yun Luo no longer referred to itself as the general's mansion. Instead, it referred to itself as the Yun family. From this, it could be seen that he no longer felt attached to the royal family. General Yun Luo, the eunuch held the horsetail whisk in his hand and said with a smile, this servant has come to congratulate General Yun Luo. In the future, not only will General Yun Luo regain control of the military, there will also be an empress in your household. Isn't this a cause for celebration? A few days ago, the imperial palace had gone through a great change and the eunuchs in the palace had also been replaced. Hence, the eunuch who had come this time had a face that Yun Luo was unfamiliar with. Especially that smiling face, Yun Luo felt the urge to punch him fiercely. What empress? The old man snorted coldly. My Yun family doesn't have any empress. Please leave. The eunuch replied in a manner that was neither servile nor overbearing. General Yun Luo, our Imperial Majesty has taken a liking to your daughter and has specially ordered me to escort your daughter into the palace. From now on, General Yun Luo, you are a relative of the imperial family. Ha! Yun Luo let out a hearty laugh. Have all of you forgotten how my Yun family was so awe-inspiring when we punched the #1 expert of the imperial family? How dare they come knocking on my door now? I thought that Gao Xiaochen was different from Gao Tu and his son. I didn't expect that the people of the imperial family were all the same. Get the hell out of here right now. My Yun family's daughter will never marry a member of the imperial family. Moreover, Gao Xiaochen already had many concubines in his harem. How could such a dirty man be worthy of his precious granddaughter? The eunuch's eyes darkened and he spoke in a strange tone. Yun Luo, don't be so shameless. It's your granddaughter's fortune that the imperial family has taken a liking to her. Do you think that the current Long Yuan nation is still under the control of Gao Tu? Now, I'll let you know that the Yun family is nothing. As soon as he finished speaking, a few figures rushed out from behind him and quickly stood in front of the eunuch. At the same time, the eunuch tossed the horsetail whisk in his hand onto the ground. His body emitted a monstrous aura. You're not from the palace. Yun Luo was greatly astonished, and his footsteps could not help but retreat a few steps. Other than the guards, the others were all advanced spiritualists. In particular, the eunuch and the gray-robed elder were advanced high spiritualists. The Long Yuan nation definitely did not have that many strong martial artists. The eunuch no longer spoke in his treacherous voice and returned to his original tone. His elderly features were filled with a sarcastic smile as he said, "That's right, I'm not a eunuch from the palace. I've only been paid to do my job. Yun Luo, are you going to hand over your granddaughter obediently and continue to be a general, or do you want me to behead you right here and now?" In order to prevent the Yun family from realizing that it was Ling men who were behind this, he deliberately added the line that he had taken their money. Just as the fake eunuch finished speaking, a demonic voice suddenly rang out from the courtyard of the Yun family. "Are you certain you want to behead my old man?" The young girl's voice pierced through the courtyard and fell into the ears of the people in front of her. The fake eunuch frowned slightly. His sharp gaze was like a sharp sword as he shot it towards the beautiful young girl who was walking out to greet him. "Tomorrow, second uncle will appear. Haha, second uncle will be able to see the light of day again. Then, it will be time to bully Jing Lin and the delusional Gao Xiaochen. Tomorrow, the female lead will also make a move and expose her true strength. Also, let me tell you a piece of unfortunate news. Tomorrow this novel will be published. It's a single subscription, not a monthly subscription. Hence, apart from getting a discount, the monthly membership has no other benefits. The fee is 5 coins per chapter. Of course, some people with high VIP status will get a discount. Also, I never said that this novel will always be free. I've already written more than 300,000 words for free. That's why I've been notified that it will be published. The early stages of the novel will definitely be free, but the later stages will have to be paid for. I hope you can understand." Chapter 302. The moment he saw the young girl step forward, a breathtaking light flashed across the fake eunuch's eyes. Even though he had lived for a long time, he had never seen such a stunning woman. It would not be an exaggeration to say that she was the most beautiful woman in the world. It was no wonder that so many men had gone crazy for her. Whether it was Gao Xiaochen or the man named Yun Xiao, whom his young miss had taken a fancy to, they were all infatuated with her. "Yun Luofeng, are you coming with me yourself, or do you want me to kidnap you?" The fake eunuch returned to his senses and stared coldly at Yun Luofeng. A fierce look flashed across his eyes. Yun Luofeng raised his eyes and looked at the fake eunuch. "You people don't have the ability to kidnap me." The fake eunuch scoffed, "Little girl, don't be too arrogant. Since you said that we don't have the ability to kidnap you, I'll show you my power now." After saying this, he raised his hand. In an instant, multiple figures rushed towards Yun Luofeng at the same time. Only he and another advanced high spiritualist did not move and watched the scene unfold coldly from the sidelines. "I'd like to see who dares to touch my granddaughter." The old man was enraged. A valiant force exploded from his old body as he took large strides forward and blocked Yun Luofeng's path. His fierce eyes stared coldly at the group of people who were rushing toward him. Bang! A violent wind was generated from his body as he leaped toward the group of powerhouses who were charging toward him. The wind from his palm, which had used all of the old man's strength, suddenly blocked the group of people a few meters away. The old man wiped the sweat from his forehead, but a sneer still hung on his aged face. How dare these small fries come to the Yun family and cause trouble? Today, as long as I'm still standing here, don't even think about taking my granddaughter away. Also, go back and tell Gao Xiaochen that my granddaughter will never be the empress. The fake eunuch squinted his eyes as a dangerous, cold light flickered in them. I didn't want to do it myself, but it looks like I'll have to subdue you. Back then, the old man was only able to defeat Lin Feng because of the little hamster's help. This time, it would be useless even if the Yun family used the same trick again. After all, he was not the only advanced spiritualist that came to the Yun residence this time. The old man was well aware of this, but he was not willing to lose to anyone in terms of words, so he sneered. The imperial family's greatest expert, Lindian, was also killed by the Yun family. You're only an advanced high spiritualist. Do you think I'll be afraid of you? Hee hee. The fake eunuch did not want to argue with him. He sneered and said, I'm afraid you know better than anyone else how Lindian failed. Even if you defeated him, there are 2 advanced spiritualists here, so how can you stop us by yourself? The fake eunuch looked at Yun Luo with a mocking gaze. His expression clearly showed that he didn't think much of this old fellow. However, just as he finished speaking, a clear and cold voice suddenly rang out from the Yun family's backyard. That voice was extremely graceful and moving, causing Yun Luo's body to suddenly stiffen. My apologies, I'm not the only advanced spiritualist in the Yun family. In the inner courtyard, a man in a green robe appeared in everyone's line of sight. The man's footsteps seemed as if he was walking on clouds, and as he walked, white lotuses seemed to rise around him. Even watching him walk was a pleasing sight to the eyes. Chapter 303. Yun Luo was stunned. His eyes widened in disbelief as he looked at the handsome man who seemed to be walking on a lotus. He couldn't even move his gaze away from him. The man did not seem to notice the old man's gaze as he continued to walk towards the crowd. His handsome features lit up with a smile, and his eyes no longer held the dispirited and sorrowful look from before. Instead, it was replaced with a self-confidence that no one could ignore. That's right, it was confidence. In all these years, the old man had never seen such an expression on Yun Qingya's face. Ever since his legs were crippled and he started sitting in a wheelchair, he had lost interest in life. He had even done something like self-harm. Second uncle, you're here? Yun Luofeng turned to look at the man walking towards him and asked with a light smile. Yun Qingya curled up the corner of her lips slightly. I am the leader of the Iron Man Corps after all. I was unable to participate in your matter last time, but this time, I want to fight together with the members of my army. Have you thought it through? Yun Luofeng looked at Yun Qingya seriously. The current you, are you really going to appear in front of others? That's right. Yun Qingya nodded slightly, the smile on her lips becoming more and more moving. It's been more than 10 years. For the past 10 years, I've been living in a place where there's no daylight. Not only can I not take revenge, I can't even protect my closest family. That's why I plan to stand out now and let those people understand that I, Yun Qingya, am still alive. I will live to seek revenge on them. Looking at the man who was filled with confidence, Yun Luofeng thought of the first time he met him. At that time, the man was sitting on a wheelchair in a dispirited manner. His entire person seemed very depressed, and his eyebrows had lost their luster. Second uncle. Yun Luofeng clenched his fists tightly. No matter what you do, I will support you. I will avenge you. No matter what kind of powerful enemy the Yun family was going to face, she was fearless. Yun Qingya? When the fake eunuch heard the way these people addressed the man, he was stunned for a moment. Then, a cold smile appeared on his face. Back then, the number 1 genius of the Yun family, Yun Qingya, had a dispute with the young city lord of the medical city. In the end, he was chased by the people of the medical city, causing his death. However, no one expected that Yun Qingya would still be alive. Yun Qingya was the number 1 genius of Long Yuan country. However, those who transcended the mortal world did not know of her existence. The reason why he was famous in the mainland was because of the dispute between him and the hedonistic young governor of the medical city. It was precisely because of this dispute that his name shook the world. The man's eyes were cold and indifferent, unmoved by the other party's words. His handsome face was as elegant as ever. His handsome brows were slightly raised and filled with arrogance. Of course, I will take revenge. 10 years. Those people would never be able to imagine what kind of life he had lived in these 10 years. Hence, he would never let go of the person who had caused him to this state. Hee, the fake eunuch sneered, the power of the medical city is monstrous. If the people of the medical city find out that you're still alive, your Yun family will not have a good ending. What's there to talk about revenge? In particular, the young city lord of the medical city hated Xianxia to the bone. If someone had not stood up to stop this matter back then, the entire Yun family would have been overturned by him. Furthermore, the fake eunuch paused for a moment, then said disdainfully, I remember that your powers were crippled back then. Even if you're still alive, you're still a piece of trash. What kind of storm can a piece of trash like you stir up? Chapter 304. Yun Luo was a little anxious. Just as he was about to stand up, a power that was not inferior to his own surged out from Xianxia's body in the next moment. In fact, the power that the man was releasing was even stronger than his own. High spiritualist. The old man was dumbfounded. The man who was standing in the breeze was dumbfounded. He was dumbfounded. This is impossible. Before the old man could come back to his senses, the fake eunuch cried out in alarm. At this moment, the fake eunuch's eyes were wide open, and his face was extremely sinister. The people of the medical city are proficient in medical skills. If they cripple you, you will never be able to recover. How did you not only recover your previous strength, but also break through to a high-rank high spiritualist? This matter was simply too unbelievable. Not to mention the people from the spirit sect, even the old man was dumbfounded. Perhaps it was because of the intense shock, the old man suddenly forgot about the current situation. He turned to Yun Luofeng and scolded, You damned girl, didn't you say that you could help your second uncle recover his strength? Why did he not only recover, but he even fucking surpassed me in rank? Tell me, did you give your second uncle something good to eat but didn't give it to me? This damned girl, would she be unhappy if she didn't scare him for a day? Moreover, she actually didn't tell him about this in advance. She actually caused him to be so embarrassed in this kind of situation. Wasn't it a very embarrassing thing to not even know his own son's strength? However, what the old man did not expect was that after his words fell, everyone from the spirit sect was shocked. They turned to look at Yun Luofeng in astonishment. Was it you who cured Xianxia? The fake eunuch narrowed his eyes slightly, and a dark light appeared in his eyes. Yun Luofeng curled his lips. What does it have to do with you? These words completely infuriated the fake eunuch. His expression suddenly turned cold as he sneered, So what if Xianxia broke through to a high-rank high spiritualist? You must die today. In the beginning, he still wanted to help Gao Shaochen establish Yun Luofeng as his empress, but now, there was only one thought in his heart. This young girl was too dangerous. She was definitely not someone that someone like Gao Shaochen could control. If he did not kill her, there would definitely be endless trouble in the future. Xiaofeng. Xianxia felt the killing intent coming from the fake eunuch's body. She silently blocked Yun Luofeng behind her. Her handsome face revealed a hint of indifference and confidence. You've worked too hard all these years. As your uncle, I was unable to protect you in my arms. Now, I finally have the strength to protect you. Just leave these people to me. Yun Luofeng gently nodded and slowly took 2 steps back. She also wanted to know second uncle's strength after he became an advanced high spiritualist. The fake eunuch's expression changed. He knew that the eldest miss had underestimated her opponent. They only knew that the Yun family had 11 high spiritualists. Among the 11 high spiritualists, the old man was the only one who was an intermediate high spiritualist. As a safety precaution, 2 advanced high spiritualists were specially sent over. However, what they didn't expect was that Xianxia was still alive. Not only was he alive, but he had also become an advanced paramount spiritualist. Unfortunately, there was no turning back now. For the sake of the spiritual gate, he had to give it his all. Let's attack. The fake eunuch waved his hand. His body instantly turned into a strong gust of wind and rushed toward Xianxia. The man's green robes fluttered under the strong winds as the corners of his lips curled into a shallow angle. His clear and cold eyes stared at the old man who had leapt into the air. His handsome face did not change at all, and his expression remained as indifferent as ever. Chapter 305. Father, leave these two high-level high spiritualists to me. As for the others, you and the Steel Flame Legion will deal with them. The man's voice was as elegant as a song, like a gurgling spring flowing past. The moment it streaked across one's heart, it made one feel very comfortable. Arrogant. The fake eunuch quickly arrived in front of Xianxia and ruthlessly kicked the man's indifferent face. His eyes contained the fierceness of an eagle and leopard. Bang! The moment his foot kicked towards Xianxia, Xianxia unhurriedly raised her hand to block in front of her chest, blocking the kick that was like a hot knife through butter. 10 years ago, I relied on the strength of an advanced middle spiritualist to defeat the young city lord of the medical city, who was a low-level high spiritualist. 10 years later, I can also rely on the strength of an advanced high spiritualist to defeat two people of the same realm as me. 10 years ago, in that battle that shocked the continent, the young man from the general's mansion of the secular world used the strength of an advanced middle spiritualist to defeat a person of the high spiritualist realm. Although that battle was very difficult for him, in the end he won. But who knew that the famous hedonistic young city lord of the medical city would harbor a grudge and send experts from his family to hunt him down, but he was lucky enough to escape with his heavily injured body. It was also because of these two things that this young man from the general's mansion became famous throughout the continent. Perhaps you didn't know who the emperor of Long Yuan country was, and you might not know the name of General Yun, but you definitely didn't know the 3 words Xianxia. Even now, the people of the continent were still talking about the battle between Xianxia and the young city lord of the medical city, and it was unforgettable for a long time. The fake eunuch's expression became more and more unsightly. He withdrew his hand and looked at the other high-level high spiritualist expert. Then, the two of them attacked Xianxia at the same time. His clothes fluttered in the wind. The man took a step forward and stretched out his palm to meet the other party's fist. At the same time, his body leaned to the side, dodging the cold sword light behind him. Taking advantage of the fact that the old man had no time to defend himself, he launched a sneak attack with his right leg, kicking the old man back a few steps. The old man quickly stopped in his tracks and left a deep groove in the ground. His elderly features were extremely serious, and he could not help but break out in cold sweat. It seems like 10 years of not fighting has reduced my combat strength by a lot. Xianxia shook her head. If I still had the combat strength I had back then, that kick just now would have sent you flying 10 meters away. 10 years ago, when he fought against someone at the same cultivation level, his opponent would definitely not be able to fight back. Thus, no one at the same cultivation level as him dared to fight him, because no one at the same cultivation level would be able to withstand a single move from him. That year, the young governor of the medicine city had also heard of his existence when he had gone out to travel. That was why he'd come to challenge him, and it was for the sake of suppressing his might. And when he faced challenges, he would never refuse them. This was also the reason why he ended up like this. Zhao Lin. The fake eunuch's face darkened as he said coldly, "Today, even if we die here in battle, we must kill Yun Luofeng." The old man called Zhao Lin did not say anything. His old eyes coldly stared at Yun Luofeng, who was protected by Xianxia. Chapter 306. The killing intent in his eyes grew stronger. "You hold Xianxia back, I'll kill Yun Luofeng." After a long while, Zhao Lin slowly opened his mouth. He stood up straight and said expressionlessly, "Compared to Xianxia, the person who is even more terrifying is her. A doctor who could even cure Xianxia, how powerful was her medical skills? Moreover, compared to spirit practitioners, doctors were even more terrifying. At the very least, spirit practitioners needed to increase their strength and gradually grow. In the space of spirit practitioners' growth, they had plenty of opportunities to kill them. Doctors were different. If she was lucky enough to meet a seriously ill expert and treat him, that expert would owe her a favor. This favor was enough to topple the entire spirit gate. Therefore Yun Luofeng had to die. All right. The fake eunuch's voice sank. He no longer dared to underestimate Xianxia. He instantly took out a chain from his interspatial ring and swung it at Xianxia. Those who block the path of my spirit gate, die. The chain made a dull sound as it quickly wrapped around Xianxia's wrist. Soon after, he shouted at Zhao Lin. Quick, go kill Yun Luofeng. Zhao Lin's eyes narrowed, and he quickly rushed towards Yun Luofeng. The long sword in his hand swept out a cold light, accompanied by a murderous aura from his body, and he swooped down towards the girl standing under the breeze. The young girl's body was still lazily leaning against the tree trunk. An evil smile hung on the corner of her lips. She did not even raise her head, as if she did not feel the appearance of the sword light. Qin Yan's eyes revealed a strong sense of ridicule. Did these people think they could hurt the young miss? Even if 100 high spiritualists came, they wouldn't be enough for the young miss to kill. Now that the young miss had not made a move, it was only to let the second master regain his sense of accomplishment. After all these years, the second master had been hiding in the shadows and did not stand out to protect the young miss. As a result, the second master had always felt guilty in his heart. That was why the young miss had treated these people with silence. But a crisp sound rang out in the quiet front yard. After the fake eunuch came back to his senses, he saw Xianxia break the chains that bound him. A set of green clothes quickly swept past, blocking in front of Yun Luofeng. You're courting death. The man who had always been cold and indifferent finally let out an angry roar. A bronze sword had appeared in his hand. With a poochie sound, it pierced into Zhao Lin's chest. Blood splattered and dyed the man's green robes red. He raised his head indifferently and stared coldly at the old man who was slowly falling to the ground. With me here, who dares to harm Xiaofeng? In the past, he didn't have the strength to protect her, but now, he wouldn't allow anyone to bully her. The fake eunuch was stunned at the sight before him. A trace of fear appeared on his elderly face. Zhao Lin was dead. Zhao Lin, whose strength was on par with his, actually died so easily at Xianxia's hands. If he forcibly rushed forward, his ending would not be any better than Zhao Lin's. At the thought of this, the fake eunuch's heart trembled. A single word appeared in his mind. When this word appeared, he no longer hesitated. He turned around and wanted to escape out of the courtyard. However, before he could step out of the door, his footsteps involuntarily froze. The young girl's body leaned lazily against the door railing. Her pitch-black eyes contained an evil glint as she looked at him with a smile. Chapter 307. Where are you going? Her voice was like a nightmare, lingering in Zhao Lin's heart, causing his heart to tremble a few times. Just a moment ago, this young girl was clearly standing behind Xianxia, but the moment he turned around, she had already appeared beside the door. Could it be she was a ghost? Otherwise, how could he have changed his position so silently? Yun Luofeng. The fake eunuch's eyes darkened as he forced himself to calm down. Who the hell are you? Yun Luofeng faintly raised the corner of his lips. His languid body slowly left the door railing and walked towards the fake eunuch, whose face was pale. Don't you all know who I am? But I don't know. What is your purpose in coming here? The fake eunuch coldly snorted. Of course it's to make you the empress. Hearing this, Yun Luofeng shook his head. It seems that you are not willing to tell the truth. Since that's the case, I have no interest in asking any further. Killing intent flashed in the fake eunuch's eyes. He instantly pulled out his sword and shouted gloomily, Yun Luofeng, go to hell. He was originally worried about how to kill this woman. He didn't expect her to deliver herself to his doorstep. Now that she was a distance away from Xianxia, no one could save her. As long as he could kill Yun Luofeng, even if he died here, it would be worth it. However, just as he was ferociously charging towards Yun Luofeng, he suddenly seemed to have tripped. His entire body staggered forward and fell head first to the ground. What was even more shocking was that the sword in his hand turned around as it fell. The sharp hilt of the sword was aimed at his chest, and with a poochie sound, it pierced into his body. The fake eunuch was also dead. He had died in his own hands. No one would have thought that a high-level expert would actually fall in a fight and die under his own sword. Was all of this really a coincidence? In fact, the moment the fake eunuch pulled out his sword, Yun Luofeng had secretly taken a few stones in his hand. One of the stones struck the false eunuch in the crook of his knee and caused him to tumble. The second stone hit his arm, causing him to be unable to hold the sword in his hand. As for the third one, it was clear that Yun Luofeng's action of turning the sword around and pointing it at the fake eunuch was also his doing. Therefore, everything was a trap. And the fake eunuch fell into her trap. This is the consequence of not looking where you're going. Yun Luofeng's lips curled into a faint smile. Second uncle, let the army deal with these people. I don't want to see anyone go back alive. In addition, after we're done with these matters, we'll go to the palace to settle the score with Gao Xiaochen. What did you say? Inside the inn. Si Xian's palm landed heavily on the table. Her face immediately darkened. Zhao Lin and the others failed? After sending Zhao Lin and the others to the Yun family, Si Xian sent another person to hide in the crowd to investigate the situation. Unexpectedly, not only did Zhao Lin and the others fail, even the Yun family's Xianxia was still alive. Yun family, Yun Luofeng, Xianxia. Si Xian slowly calmed her restless heart, and a faint smile appeared on her lips. Originally, I was still struggling on how to deal with Yun Luofeng. Who would have thought that the Yun family would give me this opportunity so quickly? Chapter 308. Yun Luofeng. If you obediently became Gao Xiaochen's empress, perhaps so many things wouldn't have happened, but you went and thought about someone you shouldn't have. So, don't blame me for being heartless. Go to the medical city immediately and tell the people of the city lord's mansion that Yun Xianxia is still alive. After hearing this news, the people of the medical city will definitely not let the Yun family go. Si Xian laughed coldly. As long as she spread this news to the medical city, it wouldn't be long before the Yun family was destroyed. At that time, without Yun Luofeng, she would be able to enter Yun Zhao's world and give this cold man the best care. Moreover, she believed that it would be easier for her to become a qualified wife than Yun Luofeng. At least, she wouldn't be willing to let that man become her guard, unlike Yun Luofeng, who actually dared to order him to do things for her. She didn't even look at her lowly status. What right did she have to order him around? Yes, eldest Mississippi, the spirit gate protector cupped his fists and silently retreated from the inn room. Suddenly, only Si Xian was left in the entire room. Yun Xiao, you are mine. Her eyes were infatuated as she murmured, I will not let any woman tarnish your purity. For a man like Yun Xiao who was as cold and pure as a piece of white paper, how could he be tainted by a bit of black stain? Yun Luofeng was that stain. Letting her get close to Yun Xiao would only pollute him. Therefore, she would never allow this to happen. Of course, Yun Luofeng did not know what Si Xian was thinking. At this moment, she was standing in the study, being interrogated by the old man. Speak, why didn't you tell me about your second uncle? The old man was a little annoyed. This girl actually hid this matter for so long and did not say it to make him happy. Yun Luofeng shrugged his shoulders. Because the process of treating second uncle was too harsh, I was afraid that he wouldn't be able to hold on, so I didn't tell you for now. The old man glared at her. Then what good things did you give your second uncle? Why was he able to break through to the high spirit realm? If you have such good things, why aren't you taking them out to show your filial piety to me? Facing the old man who was blowing his beard and glaring at him, Yun Luofeng said seriously, I have indeed given second uncle some good things. If you want them, I can give them to you as well. However, you will need to first cripple your strength. Then, after 10 years of accumulation, I will be able to give you the good things that second uncle has been enjoying. This way, when you recover your strength, you will be able to advance by leaps and bounds. At first, when he heard Yun Luofeng's words, the old man was filled with joy. He was just about to think of a way to snatch those good things, but who knew that the young girl's tone would suddenly change, and what she said made the old man roll his eyes a few times. I can't afford to enjoy such good things. What kind of joke was this? A good thing that could only be enjoyed after 10 years had to be abolished. What kind of good thing was that? He would have to be crazy to be a waste for 10 years just to break through. This is what you don't want, it's not that I'm hiding it from you. The corners of Yun Luofeng's lips curled up into a demonic smile, and his black eyes turned towards the silent Xianxia. Second uncle, now that our Yun family's power is gradually growing, you can also tell me your enemy. Xianxia sighed and said with a bitter smile, back then, I fought with the young city lord of the medical city and defeated him. Because of this, he lost all face. That's why I attracted the crazy revenge of the medical city. Originally, the people of the medical city wanted to exterminate the entire Yun family, but the Doctors' Association stood up for the medical city. Chapter 309. Physicians' Association? Yun Luofeng's face darkened. What is this Doctors' Association? Xianxia glanced at her and continued. The Doctors' Association is an association established by many doctors on the continent. Whether it's the medical pavilion or the medical city, they all belong to this Doctors' Association. Moreover, this Doctors' Association is extremely powerful and has an important position in the entire continent. Why would the Doctors' Association help our Yun family? Yun Luofeng stroked his chin, his voice filled with doubt. The Physicians' Association isn't helping the Yun clan. Rather, the matter back then was too huge. If the Physicians' Association didn't step forward to stop it, it would have brought shame to the entire association. The implication was that the Doctors' Association had stepped forward to stop the medical city, not because of the Yun family, but because they did not want to bring shame to the association. After all, Xianxia had only defeated the young city lord of the medical city, but she had attracted such crazy revenge. It was one thing for him to take revenge on Xianxia, but he even wanted to destroy the entire Yun family. If this matter were to spread out, how would the world view the Doctors' Association? But Xianxia's voice paused, and a trace of worry gradually appeared on his handsome face. Back then, the Doctors' Association signed an agreement with the people of the medical city. If I am still alive, they will not stop the medical city from taking revenge on the Yun family. The fucking condition for stopping the Doctors' Association is my death. Yun Luofeng's lips curled up, and his words were laced with coldness. In the eyes of the world, the Doctors' Association is very fair, and they don't allow their subordinates to exterminate the human race. However, those who are observant can see that the Doctors' Association is obviously biased towards the medical city. Xianxia fell silent. She understood that what Yun Luofeng said made sense. The Doctors' Association was indeed talking about the medical city. Second uncle, you didn't do anything wrong. Yun Luofeng raised his evil eyes. You were only sparring with someone. You didn't intentionally hurt anyone. Just because you defeated someone? So you're the one in the wrong? On the arena, there is victory and defeat to begin with. I've never heard of only defeat and not victory. The girl's voice was arrogant and domineering, and her pitch-black eyes were deep. Why should you be hunted down just because you defeated others? If the Doctors' Association was truly fair, they wouldn't have allowed the people from the medical city to attack you. But those people used your death as a condition in exchange for the peace and harmony of the Yun family. Anyone can see the obvious favoritism. Xianxia clenched her fists tightly, her eyes filled with deep hatred. That's right. He had done nothing wrong back then. However, the people from the Doctors' Association judged that he was at fault. Furthermore, the condition for them to organize the medical city to attack the Yun family was his death. Xiaofeng, there's something you don't know. The daughter of the city lord of the medical city is the disciple of an elder of the Doctor Association. Therefore, the Doctors' Association is definitely biased towards the medical city. Hearing the man's words, Yun Luofeng finally understood. She slowly walked in front of Xianxia and gently placed her hand on his shoulder. Second uncle, don't worry. I will avenge you. Xianxia's gaze softened as she lovingly rubbed Yun Luofeng's head. Little Fenger, you've grown up. You're also the greatest hope of our Yun family. If brother and sister-in-law were to see you in heaven, they would definitely be gratified. Thinking of Yun Yang and his wife who had passed away, the atmosphere in the study grew quiet. After a while, Yun Luofeng looked up at the elegant man in front of her. Her gaze was firm and domineering. Chapter 310. Second uncle, it's getting late. I'm going back to my room to rest. Tomorrow, I still have to go to the palace to settle the score with Gao Xiaochen. Also, whether it's the medical city or the Doctors' Association, As long as they have offended the Yun family, no matter how far away they are, I will kill them. Those who offend the Yun family will be punished no matter how far away they are. Since she said it, she would definitely do it. I believe you. Xianxia smiled faintly. Her gaze was as gentle as moonlight as it shone on Yun Luofeng's body. Her expression was filled with trust in her. Alright, go back and rest early. You must be tired after half a year. Looking at the man's concerned eyes, Yun Luofeng didn't say anything else. However, at this moment, her heart was even more determined than before. In the study, Xianxia stared at the young girl's departing figure. The gentle smile on her face slowly disappeared. Father, was it wrong for me to stand up so early? The Yun family had too many enemies. But he had stood out at this time. If he brought trouble to the Yun family, he would not be able to absolve himself of the blame even if he died 10,000 times. Xianxia, you don't have to think too much about it. You've been hiding for 10 years. Now that you've recovered your strength, it's time for you to stand out and face the world. Yun Luo sighed helplessly and said in a comforting tone. Xianxia laughed bitterly. I've endured it for 10 years, but why can't I endure it today? I really hope that Xiaofeng won't be in danger because of me. Yun Luo chuckled. This little girl's innate talent is very strong and her potential is limitless. I believe that with her in the Yun family, they will definitely walk the path of supremacy. What we, the family, should do is to believe in her abilities and become her eternal shield. From his perspective, Yun Luofeng could not stay in a small place like the Long Yuan nation forever. She belonged to the vast and boundless continent. At that time, they only needed to be her shield and protect this home for her. Father, Xianxia smiled, little Fenger needs space to grow. As long as she is given space, no one in the continent will be her match in the future. So, if the Yun family is truly unable to resist the Medicine City, hand me over. As long as Xiaofeng is here, I believe that she will avenge me sooner or later. In this way, I can rest in peace in the netherworld. Imperial Palace. In the Imperial study, Gao Xiaochen was holding a cup of wine in his hand. He raised his head and downed the contents of the cup. His handsome face was flushed red and his body began to sway unsteadily. Even so, he still drank one cup after another, completely unable to stop. Your Majesty! A lady dressed in a peach-colored palace dress slowly walked up to Gao Xiaochen. Her slender jade-like arms gently supported the man's swaying body. She called out softly, You are drunk. This concubine will help you back to the palace to rest. The girl's body carried an intoxicating fragrance. Gao Xiaochen lifted his eyes slightly and looked at the girl who was supporting him. At this moment, his eyes were hazy from intoxication, and his vision was blurry. However, in this hazy state, he seemed to see a beautiful face that he had been worried about. Xiaofeng, oh, did you come to find me? The woman's body stiffened. She had loved this man for so many years and had gone to great lengths to become one of his women. But the one he was longing for was another woman. Xiaofeng, if I am willing to disperse the harem for you, are you willing to marry me? Gao Xiaochen tightly held onto the woman's arm, his eyes filled with gentleness. This gentleness was not what he pretended to be on the surface. It came from the bottom of his heart. Chapter 311. The woman stared blankly at the man who was grabbing her arm. Her heart gradually began to tear apart, and blood flowed non-stop. He wanted to dismiss the harem. Disbanding the harem for a woman. If that was the case, then where did he put them? Your Majesty, you've drunk too much. This concubine should help you to rest. Gao Xiaochen forcefully grabbed the woman and pulled her into his embrace. I'm not drunk. I'm very sober. Fenger, I thought that it was impossible for a person like me to have feelings for others. In the beginning, I wanted to understand everything about you because I wanted to use you. But I didn't expect that the more I understood you, the deeper I fell for you. I can promise you now, other than you, I won't touch any other woman. I just hope that you don't leave me. He had originally thought that from today onwards, Yun Luofeng could become his wife. However, he did not expect that the experts of the spirit sect would actually fail. Xianxia was still alive. The man who had once swept through the entire Long Yuan country was actually still alive. Even his strength had broken through to the high spirit realm. Therefore, he had made his final decision. She had once said that if he became her man, he could only have her as a woman. Therefore, he was willing to dismiss the harem for her. In this way, she would be able to live by his side. Your Majesty, I'm not Yunlu. Before the woman could finish her sentence, she was stopped by the man's lips. With a ripping sound, he raised his hand and tore the woman's dress into pieces, which floated in the study. Xiaofeng, you really came. I knew that as long as I helped you disperse the harem, you would definitely come to my side. The woman's body froze. When she raised her eyes, she met a pair of gentle eyes. Those eyes were so gentle that it seemed as if they wanted to drown her alive. The woman in the palace dress closed her eyes and obediently fell into Gao Xiaoqin's embrace, allowing him to be extremely gentle on her body, leaving those marks one after another, as long as he could give her a gentle night. So what if he treated her as someone else? Who told her to love him so deeply that she couldn't extricate herself? The next day, Gao Xiaoqin opened his eyes on the luxurious dragon bed. He rubbed his throbbing temples as a look of confusion appeared in his eyes. He remembered that he had been drinking alone in the imperial study yesterday. In the end, he had seen Yun Luofeng appear, and the two of them had been making love in the study. But why would he appear in the dragon bed? Right, Yun Luofeng? Gao Xiaoqin quickly returned to his senses and hurriedly looked at the woman next to him. When he saw that familiar face, he was completely stunned. Your Majesty! The woman rubbed her sleepy eyes and slowly sat up on the bed. What's wrong? Just as she finished speaking, a large hand suddenly grabbed her neck fiercely. She raised her head in shock and a malevolent face instantly appeared in her eyes. Bitch, why is it you? The person he saw last night was Yun Luofeng. Why was it this woman? Your Majesty, ahem. The woman was choked so hard that she couldn't speak. She kept coughing and tears flowed from the corners of her eyes. She looked at Gao Xiaoqin sadly. Thump. Gao Xiaoqin flung the woman off him and roared angrily, Bitch, who allowed you to appear in the study last night? The woman's body hit the wall and slowly slid down. A trickle of bright red blood flowed from the corner of her lips and her beautiful eyes filled with despair. Your Majesty, I'm worried about you. Chapter 312. Her voice was filled with resentment, hoping that Gao Xiaoqin would feel a little pity for her. Unfortunately, this man's heart was harder than a rock. His cold eyes were filled with murderous intent. Last night, we swore that from now on, I would never touch any woman again. Yet, you appeared in the royal study without permission and pretended to be Xiaofeng to confuse us. Your Imperial Majesty. The woman raised her eyes and stared at Gao Xiaoqin in disbelief. Gao Xiaoqin had clearly mistaken her for someone else. Yet, she said that she had pretended to be Yun Luofeng to confuse him? Could it be that I have no place in his heart despite having accompanied him for so many years? The woman felt extremely sad at the thought of this. A bitter smile appeared on her face. All these years, has your Imperial Majesty ever loved me? You are not Yun Luofeng. We only love Yun Luofeng. Gao Xiaoqin's expression was cold and stern. He no longer had the gentleness that he had initially displayed. Since you have pretended to be her, you must accept your punishment. Your Imperial Majesty, don't be so stubborn. Yun Luofeng would never like you. The Yun family's power is overwhelming. No one can force her to do anything. The woman propped herself up. Her beautiful face was deathly pale and her beautiful eyes were filled with tears. She looked very pitiful. Shut up. Gao Xiaoqin flew into a rage out of humiliation. He raised his hand and strangled the woman's neck again. This time he used all of his strength. The woman who had been struggling in his grasp gradually stopped moving and her body slowly cooled down. Slut, how dare you climb into my bed? You deserve to die. Gao Xiaoqin tossed the woman's body onto the ground. He then picked up the dragon robe that was hanging on the bed and put it on. The moment he put on the dragon robe, a familiar voice rang out from outside the palace, causing his body to suddenly stiffen. I wanted to settle the score with you today, but I never thought that I would see such a show. Under the morning light, The young woman walked gracefully over the high doors. Her smile was as alluring as ever. Her dark eyes were filled with mirth. Her snow-white dress fluttered gently in the wind. She was so beautiful that no one could look away. It wasn't as if Gao Xiaochen had never seen Yun Luofeng before. He did not have a good impression of the cowardly Yun Luofeng from before. In fact, he had never even looked at her. When did he start paying attention to her? Perhaps it was the encounter at the medical pavilion, or perhaps it was the good show on the Qin River boat. But no matter when he noticed her, he was destined to fall into such a tragic end. Feng, Gao Xiaochen's face lit up with a smile as he stared at the young girl who had appeared in the doorway. If I had never had a woman before, would you be willing to be my woman? There are no ifs in this world. Yun Luofeng raised his eyebrows slightly. So, I cannot choose you. Gao Xiaochen's heart violently trembled. That's right, there were no ifs in this world. However, if he was given a chance to start over, he would definitely remain chaste and wait for her to appear. Also, Yun Luofeng paused, then continued, even if there was an if, I would not choose you. But Gao Xiaochen asked in confusion. Back then, she had said that as her man, he could only have her as his woman. Since he was willing to do as she had said, why would she not choose him? A grim and handsome face appeared in front of Yun Luofeng and the corners of his lips curled into an angle. Chapter 3:13. There is a man who is willing to humble himself and come to my side. He is willing to be ordered around by me. No matter what I do, he will help me without hesitation. Even if I commit a serious crime of murder, he is willing to become the enemy of the entire world just to stand by my side. Can you do that? Gao Xiaochen laughed bitterly. He really liked Yun Luofeng, but he would never humble himself for her, much less become the enemy of the entire mainland. That was why he had lost to someone else. I understand. There was a flash of pain in Gao Xiaochen's eyes. I am indeed not as good as the person you speak of. Because of my own selfish desires, I have brought you so much trouble. Don't worry, I will commit suicide in the palace. Take it as atonement. After saying this, Gao Xiaochen seemed to have thought of something and continued, I have one more thing to tell you. Yesterday, the reason why I went to the general's estate to cause trouble for you was because of Si Xian's orders. Si Xian? Yun Luofeng was stunned and asked, why did Si Xian want me to marry you? Gao Xiaochen's smile was a little helpless. Si Xian likes Yun Xiao. Initially, he had thought that Yun Xiao was just an ordinary guard. However, when Si Xian appeared, he realized that he was the most well-hidden person in the entire Yun family. If Yun Xiao was not special, why would Si Xian fall in love with him so deeply? She had even sent people to the general's residence after Yun Xiao had left. If one were to say that she was not afraid of Yun Xiao, he would never believe it. But at that time, he was already riding a tiger and could not back down. He could only listen to Si Xian's orders. I understand. Yun Luofeng raised her head to look at the man standing in front of her. In order to thank you for telling me this, I will leave you with the last shred of self-respect. Kill yourself. Gao Xiaochen's thin lips moved slightly. Thank you. After saying these two words, Gao Xiaochen hung the sword on the wall. He pulled out the sword from the wall and gently slit his neck. Fresh blood immediately spurted out and stained the floor of the bedchamber red. Yun Luofeng watched the man's gradually collapsing body without a ripple of emotion in her eyes. Then she slowly walked out of the bedchamber. Gao Xiaochen reaped the consequences he had today. If he had not joined forces with the spirit order to harm the Yun family, she would not have been so ruthless. She would never allow anyone to harm the Yun family, even if it was just a thought. Little Mo, do you think I'm being too cruel? Yun Luofeng paused for a moment after stepping out of the palace gates, then sent a spiritual message. Master, this world follows the law of the jungle. You don't need to feel any burden. Besides, if you aren't cruel, others will be cruel to you. Little Mo's voice was childish, but it made Yun Luofeng chuckle. Xiao Mo, I did not have any relatives in my previous life. I only had a master. In this life, I have grandfather, second uncle, and Yun Xiao. I can tolerate anyone disrespecting me, but I cannot tolerate anyone threatening the Yun family. If our Yun family isn't strong enough, I will be forcefully brought into the palace. Grandfather and the others won't have a good ending either. Kindness? In her previous life, when she was young, she watched as her parents were robbed of their wealth and killed in a pool of blood. She did not know what kindness was. A kind person would always be bullied. This was an unchanging principle since ancient times. As long as she could help the Yun family get rid of any trouble, even if her hands were stained with blood, she would not regret it. Chapter 3:14. The streets of the imperial city were no longer as peaceful as they used to be. When the passers-by saw Yun Luofeng, they could not help but start discussing. Have you heard about what happened recently? His Majesty the Emperor wanted to marry Yun Luofeng, but she rejected him. Not only that, Xianxia from the Yun family is still alive and has become a high spiritualist. I have to say that Yun Luofeng really knows how to reincarnate. Otherwise, with her useless physique, wouldn't she be at the mercy of others? That's right. Though Yun Luofeng is a doctor, she has no cultivation at all. With this kind of strength, she won't be able to do anything. If not for the general's support, let's see how arrogant she can be. These people did not deliberately avoid Yun Luofeng. Instead, they dragged out their words as if they were purposely talking to her. Master, go and kill them. Go and kill these bastards. Xiaomo was about to explode from anger. These people dared to say that his master was useless. If his master was useless, would there still be geniuses in this world? Furthermore, the reason why the Yun family was where it was today was because of his master. These people can only speak without thinking. Yun Luofeng stretched lazily. It doesn't affect me. I don't need to waste my time on these people. Xiaomo puffed up his cute little face in anger. He could not understand why his master did not reveal his strength when the fake eunuch brought people to cause trouble. Why did he secretly kill the fake eunuch? If these people knew his master's strength, would they still dare to slander him? Miss. Just as Yun Luofeng was absent-mindedly walking down the street, a hurried voice suddenly rang out in front of him. The person was panting slightly. Miss, something bad has happened. The people from the medical city are here. What should we do? Medical city? Yun Luofeng's footsteps paused. Even though she knew that the people from the medical city would be here soon, she did not expect it to be so fast. It had only been one night and these people had actually come to Long Yuan country. Let's go! Yun Luofeng lowered his eyes and his lips curled into an evil smile. I would like to see the strong cultivators of the medical city. In the great hall of the Yun family, the old man's face was cold and expressionless. His sharp eyes swept over the old man standing in the great hall. The old man's expression was cold, and his face was old. Two middle-aged men followed behind him, and they were like Mount Tai guarding behind the old man. The old man didn't even look at the old man. Instead, his gaze fell on Xianxia, who was beside the old man. He sneered, Xianxia, I never thought that you, who were heavily injured back then, would still be alive. Even your dantian had been repaired. Don't forget that the medical city had let the Yun family go on the condition that you die. Now that you're standing here in one piece, don't tell me that the Yun family doesn't intend to give me an explanation. His last sentence was naturally directed at the old man. As soon as he finished speaking, a powerful pressure spread out and filled the entire hall. The old man's face was a little pale. His hand that was holding the teacup trembled uncontrollably. His elderly face was solemn. Was this the pressure of an earth spirit? The difference between an earth spirit warrior and a high spirit warrior was not just a little bit. The old man took a deep breath and put down the teacup in his hand. He said, Your medical city once caused Xianxia to suffer for 10 years. Isn't that enough? What did Xianxia do wrong? Just because he won the challenge, he had to die in this world? Chapter 3:15. That's right. The old man's eyes were as cold as knives. His aura was imposing and domineering. Who told him to have the guts to defeat my young master? If he admitted defeat, this would not have happened. Who knows, our medical city might have befriended you because of your knowledge. There would definitely be countless benefits, but who knew that Xianxia was too stupid? She even dared to hit my young master. She's courting death. Boom. The old man punched the wall, and the sturdy wall of the Yun family instantly collapsed. Yun Luo's face darkened. It was someone from your medical city who challenged my son first. In the arena, there should be fairness. He lost to my son because his skills were inferior to others, and he asked for it. Don't tell me you want my son to stand still and let him hit him? The old man snorted. Xianxia should not have fought back. He should have stood still and let my young master beat him up. My young master could have saved him 10 years of pain by beating him up, but he had the guts to ask for trouble. Yun Luo was so angry that he almost went crazy. He had thought that he was shameless enough, but he did not expect this old man to be even more shameless than him. How could he say such words? The challenge was based on fairness. Why did the young master of the medical city issue a challenge, but his son had to stand still and let him beat him up? Was this still considered a challenge? Then what does your medical city want now? Yun Luo gritted his teeth, his old face ashen. The destruction of the Yun family, or the death of Xianxia? Bang! Yun Luo slammed the table and stood up, shouting angrily, "Don't go too far in the medical city. 10 years ago, I did not protect Xianxia well, and let him suffer for 10 years. Now, I will not allow anyone to touch a single hair on my son's head." The old man sneered, feeling disdainful of Yun Luo's words. Yun Luo, the strongest person in your Yun family is only a high-level high spirit. As an earth spirit, do you think that you can stop me with your strength? His eyes were filled with contempt, as if he did not place the Yun family in his eyes. Indeed, the Yun family was very powerful in the Long Yuan country. However, in the eyes of these powerful families, a small Yun family was nothing. Back then, I wanted to exterminate the entire Yun family, but the Doctors Association came out to stop me, allowing your Yun family to stay for another 10 years. But don't forget, because Xianxia died, our medical city let your Yun family go, and we even reached an agreement with the Doctors Association. If Xianxia was still alive, they would not have come out to stop us from destroying the Yun family. Yun Luo's heart gradually sank. 10 years ago, if the Doctors Association had not stood up for them, the Yun family would not have been able to escape this calamity. Xianxia, the old man continued to sneer, since you're still alive, you should find a dark place to hide for the rest of your life. I didn't expect you to actually dare to walk in broad daylight. You're clearly courting death. Today, if the Yun family is not destroyed, I will not leave Long Yuan Nation. The old man no longer held back his aura. It surged out like an earth-shattering storm, turning into an invisible storm that pressed down on the old man and Yun Qingya. Boom! Just as the aura surged towards the old man and Yun Qingfeng, a powerful aura came from outside the door, shattering his pressure. Then, a lazy voice slowly rang out, landing in the silent hall. I only left for a moment, and you came to bully my old man and second uncle? If my old man gets a heart attack because of you, even if you have 100 lives, it won't be enough to compensate. Chapter 316. The old man frowned slightly and turned to look at the young girl who was walking in. His face darkened. You're Yun Luofeng? Yun Luofeng's granddaughter? Yun Luofeng blinked lightly. It seems like I'm the only one named Yun Luofeng. The old man brushed his sleeves. You're so young and yet you're already so naughty. You dare to blackmail an old man? When did I make Yun Luofeng so angry that he had a heart attack? Yun Luofeng curled his lips. My old man's heart isn't good and he can't take fright. You're so fierce to him. If something happens to him because of you, the medical city really can't afford to compensate. Yun Luofeng rolled his eyes. When did his heart become so fragile? However, in order to cooperate with his granddaughter, Yun Luofeng lifted his hand to his forehead and pretended to be weak. Sigh, I'm a person who can't take a fright. You scared me just now and made me sick. I'm now dizzy and my heart is twitching. Tell me, how does your medical city plan to compensate me? You. The old man's expression suddenly changed. Yun Luofeng, you're shameless. This old man had just been jumping around and had a big temper. Now he looked like he was on the verge of collapse? Who would believe that? Shameless? No one can be more shameless than you. Yun Luofeng curled his lips. After all, I didn't say that I would let my opponent stand still and let my family beat him up in the arena. The old man's fluctuating emotions slowly calmed down. He said expressionlessly, Yun Luofeng, no matter what you say, none of your Yun family members will escape today. Squeak squeak. Milk tea crawled out from Yun Luofeng's sleeve. A pair of round eyes looked at the old man with disdain. That expression seemed to be mocking him. The old man was furious. This Yun family was extremely daring. Even a gold-seeking rat was so daring. Since that was the case, he would first crush this damned gold-seeking rat to death. You're courting death, the old man shouted loudly. He raised his hand to grab the little hamster that had burrowed into Yun Luofeng's palm. His eyes were filled with ruthlessness. Milk tea hid into Yun Luofeng's sleeve with a swoosh. Only her little head was exposed as she squeaked mockingly. Xiaofeng, be careful. Yun Xianxia turned pale with fright. With a leap, she dove towards the old man who was attacking Yun Luofeng. Her handsome face was filled with anxiety. But, just as the old man's hand was about to touch Yun Luofeng's figure flashed and he disappeared. When the old man came back to his senses, a gust of cold wind hit him from behind, causing his back to stiffen. Boom! The girl kicked the old man's back, sending him flying several meters away. Even the wall was smashed by his body, and he fell into the crowd on the street. The entire Yun family fell silent because of the girl's actions. Even the middle-aged men that the old man had brought along were stunned. His master strength had long broken through to the earth spirit realm. But this young girl only used one kick to send him flying. Even though part of the reason was that the Lord had underestimated the enemy, if one wanted to kick him, one's own strength had to reach the level of an earth spirit. A teenage earth spiritualist, what kind of concept was that? No one would believe him if he told them. But now, this scene was playing out in front of them. The old man looked at Yun Luofeng in a daze. Girl, what realm has your strength broken through to? Yun Luofeng looked at the old man in the crowd. The same level as him. Chapter 317. Boom. As if a bolt of lightning had struck down, the old man was dumbfounded. Even his breathing became uneven. He hurriedly covered his heart and staggered backwards. Just as Yun Xianxia came back to her senses, she saw the old man holding his heart and falling backwards. She hurriedly stepped forward to support the old man. Father, how are you? The old man leaned on Yun Xianxia's body and rolled his eyes. He opened his mouth but could not make a sound. Yun Xianxia hurriedly stroked his chest and helped him breathe. She asked nervously, Father, are you feeling better? After a long time, the old man finally felt that he could breathe again. He fiercely sucked in a breath of cold air and glared at Yun Luofeng angrily. Damned girl, tell me, how many times have you scared me ever since I came back to Long Yuan country? Furthermore, you actually broke through to the earth spirit realm without a sound. That was an earth spirit realm. At such an old age, he had only reached the middle stage of the high spirit realm. This girl was only 15 years old, yet she had already become an earth spirit realm. How could he live like this? It was truly infuriating to compare oneself to others. Although this was what Yun Luo had said, he felt very proud in his heart. Which family's granddaughter was as talented as his? Not to mention Mu Wushuang, even the young miss of the spirit sect might not be able to compare to her. At this moment, outside the Prime Minister's residence, there was a large crowd. Among these people, there were also the people who had mocked Yun Luofeng just now. Now, looking at the scene in front of them, everyone miraculously quietened down. It was so quiet that even the breathing of the people beside them could be heard clearly. A person who had broken through to the earth spirit realm at the age of 15 was actually called trash by them? If she was still trash, how could there be geniuses in this world? Thinking of this, those who had humiliated her all lowered their heads in shame. Some of them even wished they could find a hole to hide in. I originally thought that the young miss of the Yun family, Yun Luofeng, only knew medical skills and was still unable to cultivate. However, I had forgotten that her medical skills were so powerful that she could even cure the second master of the Yun family. Why couldn't she cure herself? It turns out that she had unknowingly grown to this point. If I had known Yun Luofeng's strength, I wouldn't have humiliated her at all. Right, where is Jinglin? He was the one who encouraged us to humiliate Miss Yun. Where did he go? Jinglin? Yun Luofeng, who originally had no intention of discussing with the people outside, couldn't help but turn his head to look after hearing these two words. That day, when she had killed her way into the imperial palace, Jing Lin had already escaped as soon as he saw that the situation was not good. However, she had not expected that he would not leave Long Yuan country. Instead, he was hiding in the dark, trying to use other people's voices to disgust her. But what Jing Lin didn't expect was that not only would she not be moved by those insulting voices, she was also no longer the trash she used to be. Master! Right at this time, Yiling carried an old man who was trembling all over and walked in from outside the door. She threw him on the ground in front of Yun Luofeng. This guy was sneaking around here, so I caught him and brought him in. Yun Luofeng lowered his eyes and looked at Jing Lin on the ground. The corners of his lips curled up. I don't have time to deal with him now. You keep an eye on him. After I've settled the matter in the medical city, I'll come and settle the score with him. The girl's voice was demonic and awe-inspiring, causing Jing Lin's body to stiffen. He lowered his head tightly, wishing he could bury it in the ground. Chapter 318. If he had known earlier, he would have decisively left Long Yuan country and fled far away. It would have been better than being caught by this woman. Unfortunately, there was no medicine for regret in this world. No matter how much Jing Lin regretted it, it was useless. Yun Luofeng no longer looked at him. Her eyes turned to the old man from the medical city, and her evil black eyes were filled with a smile. How did your medical city hurt my second uncle back then? One day, I will make you pay 10,000 times the price. The old man sneered and slowly got up from the ground. His mocking gaze fell on Yun Luofeng. Yun Luofeng, do you think I'm the only one from the medical city who came here? I have to say, your luck is really good. If the young miss of the spirit sect reported your matter to the medical city, maybe the medical city would only send an earth spirit warrior. However, who told you to be so lucky? This time, our medical city happened to be near Long Yuan country, so... Before he could finish his sentence, an even older voice slowly came from the void. Little girl from the Yun family, your talent is indeed not bad. It's much higher than your second uncle's. If the person we faced back then wasn't your second uncle, but you, maybe I would have to personally make a move to capture you. Walking in the air? Heavenly spirit realm? Yun Luofeng stared at the old man who had appeared in the air, and her eyes gradually darkened. She did not expect that there would be a heavenly spirit realm cultivator coming to the Yun family this time. This time, she had indeed been careless. In the beginning, the reason why she did not reveal her strength in front of others was because she had considered the existence of the medical city. For a power like the medical city, the experts were all very busy. Therefore, they would not send people who were too strong to the Yun family. They would only send people who were one level higher than the Yun family. This was also why second uncle was able to escape with his life back then. For a small Yun family, there was no need to send out an expert of the heavenly spirit realm. But if these people knew of Yun Luofeng's strength, it would be different. Thus, for the past 6 months, Yun Luofeng had been hiding herself. However, she never expected that the heavenly spirit realm of the medical city would be working near Long Yuan country. Her luck was truly too bad. Little Feng. Yun Xianxia slowly walked forward and gently held Yun Luofeng's hand. There was a trace of a smile in her handsome eyes. You are the hope of the Yun family. No matter what, nothing can happen to you. The man's tone was resolute, as if he was facing death with equanimity. Second uncle, Yun Luofeng frowned. We are a family, I will not let you face these enemies alone. So what if he was a heavenly spirit practitioner? Even if she had to die, she wouldn't let these people touch second uncle. Yun Xianxia smiled and turned to look at the old man in the air. If I commit suicide here, can you let them go? A smile blossomed on the old man's wrinkled face, revealing a mouthful of black teeth. His wrinkled eyes narrowed into slits. If it was before, I would be willing. However, this little girl from the Yun family is far too dangerous. If I don't kill her, I'm afraid that the medical city will be destroyed because of her. Yun Xianxia's heart sank. I was the one who defeated the young city lord of the medical city back then. It has nothing to do with them. The old man laughed twice. His old laughter was like dry bark, dry and unpleasant to hear. If you want to blame someone, you can only blame her for being surnamed Yun. Who asked her to be your niece? Chapter 319. It is precisely because she is your niece. Therefore, all members of the Yun family must die. Xianxia's heart sank bit by bit as she clenched her fist tightly. Suddenly, a hand landed on his fist, gently wrapping around his trembling fist. Second uncle, I won't let you suffer like you did 10 years ago. The young girl's black eyes were clear and bright, firm and confident. Then, her eyes slanted towards the old man in the air. This time, I was indeed careless. However, if you want to kill me, you must be prepared to be bitten by me. Little girl, being too arrogant is not a good thing. The old man's voice was old and hoarse, as if someone had used their fingernails to lightly scratch across the table, and it was very uncomfortable to hear. Second uncle, go to grandpa's side. Yun Luofeng's expression gradually became serious. Yi Ling, you and the other members of the army protect them with your lives. We can't let my grandfather and second uncle suffer any harm. Facing the heavenly spirit realm, she didn't dare to underestimate him. After all, if she was the slightest bit careless when fighting against an expert of this level, she would die here. Therefore, she had to face this battle with all her might. Master, don't worry. Even if I die, I won't let the general and second master suffer any harm. Yi Ling's expression froze as she solemnly guaranteed. Little Yun, the old man said with a low laugh, it's useless for you to do this. After I kill you, not a single member of the Yun family will be able to escape. Is that so? Yun Luofeng stepped forward. I'm afraid that when the time comes, it won't be as you wish. She only needed to stall for time. Before Yun Shao left, she had told him that he would definitely return to the Yun family the next day. As for her, she only needed to persevere until Yun Shao returned home. I've already said it before, being too arrogant is not a good thing. In the air, the old man snorted. His body was like a burst of white smoke as he quickly floated in front of Yun Luofeng. His speed was very fast. It was so fast that no one could see his movements clearly. His soft hand had already arrived in front of Yun Luofeng. Bang! Yun Luofeng's expression became serious as she faced the old man's attack. Suddenly, she felt a powerful spiritual power pass through her palm and into her internal organs. The tips of Yun Luofeng's feet clung tightly to the ground, as if she had taken root there. She swallowed the blood that almost gushed out of her mouth, and her lips curled into a faint smile. The power of a celestial spirit practitioner is only SOSO. The old man didn't expect Yun Luofeng's physique to be so strong. He couldn't help but be startled. Little girl, I've really underestimated you. A girl like you can't continue to grow. Otherwise, my medical city will be destroyed by your hands sooner or later. This time, the old man didn't use his soft palm to attack Yun Luofeng. Instead, he clenched his fist and his aura surged out in all directions. Yun Luofeng's expression was solemn. His black eyes stared closely at the old man's movements. Then, the old man finally made his move again. Facing the old man's stern fist, Yun Luofeng's body moved to the side, narrowly dodging it. At the same time, the old man's fist came again from the side of his waist, right in front of him. Bang! The fist landed on Yun Luofeng's waist. Her body was quickly sent flying several meters away. Blood flowed from the corner of her mouth, and her beautiful face was as pale as a sheet. Xiaofeng! Yun Luo and Yun Xianxia turned pale with fright. Ignoring the army's obstruction, they quickly walked in front of Yun Luofeng. Chapter 320. Xiaofeng, how are you? Yun Xianxia hurriedly helped Yun Luofeng up as her cold gaze swept towards the old man. The person you want to kill is me, and the person you want to deal with is also me. If you dare to touch my niece, I, Yun Xianxia, will not let you off even if I become a ghost. The man stood upright in the breeze, his green robes fluttering in the wind. Between his brows, there was a look of determination as if he was facing death with equanimity. The old man stood in the air as the corners of his lips curled into a faint smile. Become a ghost? I'm afraid you won't even have the chance to become a ghost. Everyone in the Yun family must die, Especially Yun Luofeng, this talented little girl. The people of the medical city really are a breeze. Suddenly, accompanied by a gentle breeze, an old voice floated in from the entrance of the Yun family home. It was indifferent and cold. The old man in the air frowned as he turned to look at the two people who had appeared at the door. It was an old man and a young man. The old man was dressed in a crescent moon-colored robe. There was a faint smile on his aged face. His gaze was indifferent and cold as he stared deeply at Yun Luofeng. Beside the old man, a beautiful girl of 17 or 18 years of age was supporting him. This young girl was extremely delicate and her facial features were very beautiful. Her big bright eyes darted around and there was a dignified smile on her face the entire time. With a single glance, one could tell that this young girl was either rich or noble and was definitely not an ordinary person. Elder Ning Exen? When Yun Luo saw the two of them appear, his heart was suddenly filled with joy. Although he still did not know who Elder Ning was, since he had appeared here, it proved that he could handle this matter. Elder Ning did not say anything. His indifferent eyes stared at the old man in the air as he said indifferently, "Lu Yin, not only are you over 100 years old, you are also a heavenly spirit realm cultivator. Aren't you afraid of losing your reputation by bullying a junior like this?" Lu Yin's eyes darkened slightly. "Elder Ning, the matters of our medical city have nothing to do with your Ning family. Even if your Ning clan is powerful, you won't be able to resist a colossus like the Doctors Association. If you help the Yun clan, you'll be making an enemy out of our medical city. Making an enemy out of our medical city is also making an enemy out of the Doctors Association." In the face of Lu Yin's danger, Elder Ning smiled faintly. The Doctors Association will not interfere in this matter, and this old man just happens to owe the Yun family's lass a favor. If you want to touch someone from the Yun family, this old man will not allow it. Lu Yin's face darkened. If Elder Ning was here, he really wouldn't be able to make a move against the Yun family today. Just as the two old men were exchanging blows, Elder Rong, who had already received the news, hurried over. He wiped the sweat off his face and quickly walked in front of the two men. "Lu Yin, not only is the little girl from the Yun family someone that Elder Ning wants to protect, she has also done a great favor for the medical pavilion. Not only does he not agree to you harming the Yun family, I don't agree either." Lu Yin stared coldly at the sweating Elder Rong as a cold light flashed across his old eyes. Even the medical pavilion wants to meddle in other people's business? Hee, Elder Rong laughed dryly. The medical pavilion and the medical city are both members of the Doctors Association. All the organizations that are affiliated to the Doctors Association have signed a contract to never harm one another. Hence, if the medical city hurts me, you will be expelled from the Doctors Association. Lu Chen's heart gradually sank. He never thought that a tiny Yun family would attract Elder Ning and the medical pavilion. It seems that I have really underestimated this little girl, Yun Luofeng. Chapter 321. Could it be that you want me to just let it go? Lu Yin frowned and asked coldly. Elder Rong pondered for a moment. Why don't we make a 3-year agreement? The Doctors Association holds a meeting every 3 years. At that time, all the doctors will attend the meeting. Unfortunately, the little girl from the Yun family is also a doctor. At that time, all the grudges between you and the Yun family can be settled at this meeting. At this point, Elder Rong paused for a moment. If you insist on touching the Yun family now, then I can only fight you. And the rules of the Doctors Association cannot be changed. Even if the young miss of the medical city is the disciple of an elder of the Doctors Association, it will not change your fate of being expelled from the medical pavilion. Elder Lu Chen, the old man who had been sent flying by Yun Luofeng, hurriedly stood up and walked to Lu Chen's side, his expression full of anxiety. Let's go. In the end, Lu Chen still listened to Elder Rong's words. He lightly flung his sleeves, and before leaving, he turned to look at Yun Luofeng. Little girl, in 3 years, I will wait for you at the Doctors Association. I hope you can come see me alive. Yun Luofeng raised his eyebrows. I'll give you this sentence. I hope you don't die too early. Lu Chen laughed hoarsely. I still have the same words. Don't be too arrogant. After saying that, he did not say anything else, and his old figure quickly disappeared in front of everyone. The rest of the people from the medical city also hurriedly left, quickly following Lu Chen's footsteps. Staring at the figures of these people leaving, Yun Luofeng's conviction to become stronger deepened once again. There was always someone stronger than her. Her strength was already considered the strongest in Long Yuan country, but the entire continent was so vast, and there were countless people stronger than her. Only by becoming strong enough could one not be bullied by others. Thank you for just now. Yun Luofeng withdrew his gaze from the departing crowd and looked towards Elder Ning and Elder Rong, sincerely thanking them. Elder Ning smiled faintly. I've been in the Long Yuan kingdom for the past few days, so the news that Xianxia is still alive has reached my ears. I was worried that the people from the medical city would come to cause trouble for the Yun family, so I rushed over. However, Elder Rong, you're so close to the Yun family, yet you're not as fast as me. Elder Rong smiled awkwardly. Looking at the old man's awkward expression, Elder Ning couldn't help but mock. Could it be that you went to pick up girls? That's why you're so slow? Suddenly, Elder Rong's entire face turned red. He coughed dryly and said, This doesn't count as picking up a girl. It doesn't count. I'm just having a heart-to-heart with an old friend. It's just a heart-to-heart. You're covered in the smell of rouge. Did you have a heart-to-heart talk on the bed? Poochie. Yun Luofeng could not help but laugh out loud. Soon after, when she saw the two old men looking at her, she slightly withdrew the corners of her mouth. I just didn't expect Elder Rong to be so vigorous despite his old age. Continue talking, continue. Elder Rong's face darkened, and his expression became even more awkward. He wished he could find a hole to hide in. Little Yun, don't you have other things to take care of? Elder Rong looked at Jinglin, who was lying on the ground, and said angrily, Go and take care of him, don't worry about us. Elder Ning, this old thing, actually said such words in front of little Yun. Where would he put his old face in the future? Especially since there were so many citizens of the Long Yuan nation here. He had lost all his face. Jinglin, who was lying on the ground, froze when he heard Elder Rong turn the spearhead towards him. Chapter 322. General Yun, Miss Yun, Jinglin's face was mournful. I had eyes but failed to recognize Mount Tai, and offended you too, oh no, and the second master of the Yun family. I deserve to die, please let me go, I promise to disappear completely from now on, and will never appear in front of you again. Regret now? Yun Luofeng's lips curved into a faint smile. Don't you think it's already too late? She took a step forward and slowly walked in front of Jinglin. Even though the young girl's face was still full of smiles, that smile made Jinglin feel a chill in his heart, and his entire body could not help but tremble. Miss Yun, I was wrong, I really know I was wrong, please spare my life, I won't dare to do it again. Jinglin fiercely kowtowed, his face full of fear, and he no longer had the arrogant attitude he had at the beginning. 10 years ago, my grandfather also begged you like this. Yun Luofeng slightly raised her chin, looking down at Jinglin who was kneeling in front of her. And you, do you still remember what you said? Jinglin's body trembled, his entire body trembling, his eyes filled with fear. He wanted to continue begging for mercy, but his throat seemed to be choked by a hand, and he could not make a sound. That year, you faced grandfather who was kneeling on the ground and begging you to save second uncle, and said that even if grandfather kowtowed to death in front of you, you would not save him. Jinglin clenched his fists tightly. The scene of that year was still vivid in his mind, but now the roles had been reversed. The person who was kowtowing and begging was him. This was really an eye for an eye. Jinglin, Yun Luofeng glanced sideways at him. Half a year ago, when grandfather returned from the border, you and the crown prince came to find him and forced him to break off the engagement, and even said that I would never be able to cultivate for the rest of my life. And I said at that time, with your strength, you cannot heal my body. Yun Luofeng squatted down, her fingers gently brushing across Jinglin's neck, causing his body to shiver. Miss Yun, I beg you. Jinglin's eyes were pleading, his throat was a little dry, and he managed to choke out these few words with great difficulty. His throat tightened, and a jade-like hand tightly gripped his neck. Immediately, a feeling of suffocation spread throughout his entire heart. Don't worry, I won't let you die. I will only send you to the backyard to accompany Gao Tu and his son. Jing Lin's eyes widened. Before he could utter a single word, Yun Luofeng's palm landed on his chest. In that instant, he heard the sound of his dandan shattering. Gao Tu trusted you so much, yet you ran away as soon as you saw that the situation was not good. I believe he really wants to see you now. Qingyan, throw him into the backyard to accompany Gao Tu and his son. Yes, Mississippi. Qingyan excitedly walked to Jing Lin's side and easily lifted his body. Then she tiptoed and jumped into the backyard. The backyard, the most remote courtyard, was filled with weeds. At this moment, in a corner of the courtyard, Gao Ling's body was curled up into a ball. He stared blankly at the commotion outside. He wanted to escape, but the Yun family was watching him too closely. Every time before he could make a move, he would be discovered by the Yun family, and he would be beaten up. Just at this moment, the sound of two little girls talking came from outside the door. Xiao Lu, our miss is really amazing. Just now, when a cultivator from the Medicine City came knocking on our door, our miss actually sent him flying with one kick. She's so cool, I'm almost infatuated with our Mississippi. Chapter 323. Of course, Our Lady is a powerful cultivator at the Earth Spirit rank. Naturally, she's extremely powerful. I've decided that from now on, Our Lady will be my goddess. If anyone dares to say anything bad about Our Lady, I'll fight him to the death. Gao Ling didn't hear anything else. He only heard the words Earth Spirit and Jie. Yun Luofeng is an Earth Spirit? That's impossible, that's impossible. Her medical skills are already so powerful, it's impossible for her cultivation to be so powerful as well. Besides, everyone knows that Yun Luofeng is a good-for-nothing. All of you shut up, all of you shut up. Gao Tu roared angrily and charged into the courtyard. Unfortunately, before he could charge out, the guard at the door kicked him and sent him flying. He landed pathetically on the ground. Yun Luofeng can't be an Earth Spirit. She's a good-for-nothing, a good-for-nothing. Gao Ling's eyes gradually filled with madness as he screamed shrilly, "Get Yun Luofeng over here, she's a good-for-nothing." The two servant girls who had been in a heated discussion heard Gao Ling's words and their eyes filled with anger. They charged into the courtyard aggressively. "How dare you insult Our Lady? Our Lady is a genius. It's just that she hides her abilities well. What right do you have to insult her? Compared to Our Lady, you're the real good-for-nothing." That's right, Our Lady has always been very talented. She must have hidden her abilities for so long because she wanted to break off the engagement with you. If you knew about Our Lady's talents, wouldn't you follow her around every day? It's a good thing that Our Lady has hidden herself so that a selfish and treacherous person like you would be exposed to the light. Gao Ling's body slowly fell to the ground as his eyes filled with despair. He knew that these servant girls were right. If he had known that Yun Luofeng had such talents, he would never have broken off the engagement with her. The servant girl kicked Gao Ling fiercely. "Do you think that you're still the high and mighty crown prince? You're now just a plaything for Our Lady's hamster. Your status is even lower than ours." Gao Ling's body trembled as if he had heard the word hamster. The look in his eyes slowly turned from despair to fear. He had been tormented over the past few days. Whenever that hamster was bored, it would come over to play with him. But that kind of play could cost lives. Gao Tu had already been toyed with by him. Now that he was the only one left, how long could he be toyed with by the hamster? Yun Luofeng didn't hide his strength. Perhaps he would have married her long ago. Perhaps he could even use her strength to trip Ling Men. Unfortunately, there was no medicine for regret in this world. He could only live the rest of his life in regret. Just as Gao Ling was about to lose all hope, Qin Yan carried Jing Lin into the courtyard with her petite body and threw him to the ground. "You've both performed well just now." Qin Yan clapped her hands and turned to look at the two servant girls beside her. "I've heard everything that had been said. I'll mention the two of you to the young lady later. Even if you can't join the Steel Flame Corps, you'll still be promoted to be the Yun family's head servant girl." The two maids were overjoyed. "Thank you, Miss Qin." Qin Yan smiled. She took one last look at Jing Lin, who had been thrown onto the ground by her. Then, she turned around and walked out of the courtyard. Jing Lin, Gao Ling stared at the old man who had been tossed onto the ground by Qin Yen, and his expression changed drastically. "You damned old thing, how dare you abandon us and run away that day? So what if you've run away? In the end, you've still come here to accompany us, huh?" Chapter 324. Gao Ling had completely lost his mind. His maniacal voice echoed throughout the entire Yun family home. Then he pounced towards Jing Lin like a madman and bit down on Jing Lin's flesh. With a loud ripping sound, he tore off a large piece of flesh. His mouth was filled with blood and his expression was hideous. Jing Lin did not even have time to cry for help before he fainted from the pain. Spiritual Gate. It arrived at the top of a tall mountain not far from Long Yuan country. The terrain of this mountain was treacherous and dangerous. Apart from the disciples of the Spiritual Gate, no one else would be able to cross it safely. However, at this moment, the man stopped in front of the Spiritual Gate. His mask reflected a cold light. His black eyes were cold and his red lips were pursed into a straight line under the mask. Suddenly, the sound of hurried footsteps could be heard. The Spiritual Gate Master, Si Qiong, had led a group of people out to welcome the man. Perhaps he had run too fast. His forehead was covered in sweat. At one glance, he saw the cold man standing at the door and hurried over. "Lord Ghost Emperor, why are you here?" The man's cold eyes landed on Si Qiong. His voice was low and hoarse, but it was terrifying. "Where is Si Xian?" Si Qiong was stunned, his eyes filled with astonishment. This man had always been arrogant. When he had first arrived at the Spiritual Gate, his daughter had purposely walked up to him twice, but he had ignored her. Who would have thought that he would personally mention his daughter's name? Could it be that Si Qiong's luck had really taken a turn for the better and he could curry favor with this man? "Lord Ghost Emperor, please follow me. My daughter has just returned to the Spiritual Gate last night. I will send someone to summon her." Si Qiong was overjoyed. If he could marry Si Xian to the Ghost Emperor, his status in the mainland would be even higher. The man walked into the Spiritual Gate silently. His black robes fluttered in the breeze, giving off a cold aura. The atmosphere in the study room of the Spiritual Gate was tense. Si Qiong glanced at the cold man sitting on the chair from time to time, his forehead breaking out in a cold sweat. Ever since the Ghost Emperor had followed him into the Spiritual Gate, he had not spoken a single word. No matter how much Si Qiong tried to flatter him, the Ghost Emperor did not even look at him. If the Ghost Emperor had really taken a liking to Si Xian, shouldn't he have asked for more information about her? Instead of being so silent. Just as he was hesitating, the door of the study was pushed open. Si Xian gently pursed her thin lips and walked into the study anxiously. "Father." Si Xian cautiously glanced at Yun Xiao as her heart grew more and more flustered. She didn't think that Yun Xiao had come here because he had taken a liking to her. This man must have come to vent his anger on Yun Luofeng. If she had known that he would come looking for her, she would not have returned to the Spirit Gate so quickly. However, didn't the people she had left behind in Long Yuan country say that they didn't see Yun Xiao returning to the Yun family? That Lien family didn't even return, so how would they know what he had done? Thinking of this, Si Xian gradually calmed down her flustered heart. She plucked up her courage and looked up at the cold man sitting in front of her. Abruptly, the man stood up from his chair and slowly walked down the stairs with grim steps. His hoarse voice was filled with a seductive power as it slowly rang in Si Xian's ears. "I heard that you admire me?" Si Xian stared at the cold man in front of her and bit her red lips. "That's right, Yun Xiao, I do like you." Only the heavens knew how much courage it took for her to say those words. After she had said them, she felt her body in a mess and she almost collapsed to the ground. "So," Yun Xiao paused, "you are the one behind the Yun family's incident?" Chapter 325. Si Xian's expression changed and she stumbled back in shock. Her face turned pale and her delicate body trembled as she broke out in a cold sweat. He knew. This man really did know. After he found out about this, he didn't even return to the Yun family and had come straight to the spirit sect to settle the score. Si Xian, Si Qiong had a bad feeling about this. What on earth happened? This girl, I've already warned her not to provoke the Ghost Emperor. I never thought that she would still end up provoking him in the end. Xian's lips trembled. I didn't do it on purpose, I just wanted him too much. Gao Shaochen was instigated by you, and those high spiritualists were also sent by you. Yun Shao seemed to be mumbling to himself, but his cold eyes were fixed on Xian. You've committed such a grave mistake. The spirit sect can no longer protect you. Xian took a few steps back, her body pressed tightly against the wall. I didn't hurt Yun Luofeng, I just wanted her to marry Gao Shaochen. Moreover, isn't she there perfectly fine? Slap. A slap landed fiercely on her face. Si Qiong's face was ashen as he bellowed angrily. Shut up, who allowed you to speak to the Ghost Emperor like that? After lecturing Xian, Si Qiong quickly turned towards Yun Shao. He wiped the cold sweat from his forehead and said timidly, Lord Ghost Emperor, Xian has already acknowledged her mistake. Furthermore, she hasn't done anything irredeemable. Please, Lord Ghost Emperor. The man's cold eyes slowly swept toward Si Qiong. Just this one glance caused Si Qiong's breathing to stagnate. The fear of death lingered in his heart. He could guarantee that if he dared to speak up for Xian, the person who would die would not be Xian but him. Si Qiong hardened his heart and said, Lord Ghost Emperor, Xian has offended you, so I'll hand her over to you to deal with. Even though Xian was his most beloved daughter, no matter how much he liked her, he was not willing to implicate the entire spirit sect for her. The Ghost Emperor was far too powerful, so powerful that he could not resist. Hence, for the sake of the spirit sect, he could only give her up. Father! Xian cried out in disbelief. Her beautiful eyes were filled with deep despair. You're giving up on me? Si Qiong glanced at Xian coldly. You made a mistake, so bear it yourself. I won't let you drag the spirit sect down. What he meant was that no matter how Yun Shao wanted to deal with her, he would not care. Xian's body collapsed on the ground, her beautiful face was deathly pale. She had never imagined that she would lose her life here because of her jealousy. However, Xian's desire to live still made her stand up from the ground. She scrambled over to Yun Shao and kowtowed fiercely. Please let me go. As long as you let me go, I promise I won't dare to have any thoughts about you. I'm more willing to use my body to serve Miss Yun. Yun Shao coldly glanced at her. Your strength is too weak. The meaning of his words was very clear. Your strength is too weak, and you don't have the qualifications to serve her. Xian felt the murderous intent from the man's body and screamed. She then raised her hand to grab Yun Zhao's leg. With a bang, the aura from Yun Zhao's body surged out, causing her trousers to fly open. As this aura was far too powerful, even Xian's arms were shaken to the point where countless wounds split open. Fresh blood flowed out, dyeing her entire arm red. Chapter 326. My entire body belongs to her. Aside from her, no one else has the right to touch me. Even if she had only touched his trousers, Xian's body stiffened as the pain in her heart overshadowed the pain in her arm. Her eyes stared heartbroken at the cold man in front of her. Her heart was slowly being consumed by jealousy. Yun Luofeng, why is that woman so lucky to be able to receive the wholehearted love of such a perfect, cold man? Yet she was unable to get even a sliver of it. Qin Yuan, Yun Shao retracted his grim gaze and bellowed coldly, take Si Qiong away after you've dealt with her. He had only been gone for a day, but who would have thought that these people would be so restless? They had actually taken advantage of his absence to have delusional designs on her. He would never allow anyone to harm her. No! Xian shrieked in terror, Father, save me, I don't want to die, please save me. Si Qiong's body trembled when he heard his daughter's pleas. In the end, he steeled his heart and turned away, no longer looking at her. Stop howling, it's useless even if you scream yourself hoarse. Qin Yuan sneered. However, Xian, I really can't help but admire your courage. You even dare to have designs on my mistress? Did your father not teach you not to provoke my master? Qin Yuan no longer looked at her after he had spoken. In his heart, Xian was already a dead person. Si Qiong, on the other hand, was so heartless that he would not even save his own daughter. This was truly an eye-opener for him. Eat this. Qin Yuan produced a black pill from his robes and handed it to Si Qiong. What is this? Si Qiong was shaken and his eyes filled with vigilance. Of course it's poison. Do you think that I would give you a tonic? Qin Yuan rolled his eyes and laughed disdainfully. Hurry up and take the poison so that we can be on our way. The word, on their way, could easily cause one's thoughts to go astray. Si Qiong was clearly the kind of person who would easily think in the wrong direction. Lord Ghost Emperor has only asked you to take me away, not to kill me. Besides, I've already handed Si Xian over. Why do you still want to kill me? Qin Yuan said coldly, Who said I'm going to kill you? It's just that a heartless person like you can't be trusted. Therefore, you have to take this poison. Only then can we control you and prevent you from biting us in the future. But Lord Ghost Emperor didn't tell you to do that. Si Qiong took a few steps back, clearly not wanting to take this black pill. If everything has to be said by the master, then what's the point of having subordinates like us? Hurry up and take the poison so that you can go with me. Otherwise, you and your daughter will go to hell together. Qin Yuan frowned impatiently as his expression turned cold. Si Qiong hesitated for a moment, but in the end he still decided to listen to Qin Yuan's orders. He extended his trembling hand and took the black pill. He closed his eyes and swallowed it. Qin Yuan sneered as he watched Si Qiong swallow the poison. Are you going to stay and dig a grave for your daughter, or are you going to leave with me immediately? Si Qiong shook his head. Just throw her into the mass grave. Her mistake had nearly dragged the spirit sect down with her. She has no right to enter the ancestral shrine. Si Xian's body trembled violently. Her pale face was filled with fear. She could not believe that her father, who had once doted on her, could be so heartless. Not only did he leave her in the lurch, he did not even allow her to collect her corpse. Chapter 327. Father, even a vicious tiger will not eat its own cubs. You will receive retribution for your cruelty. Si Xian cried out in a shrill voice. Her beautiful hair was in a disheveled mess as she glared at Si Qiong like a madwoman. You unfilial daughter, you've offended the Ghost Emperor, yet you still dare to speak such treacherous words. Si Qiong slapped Si Xian's body and sent it flying out of the way. He then kicked her in the waist. Who gave you the right to offend the Ghost Emperor? If you had not offended the Ghost Emperor, I would not have been forced to be fed poison. You've harmed me and yet you dare to teach me a lesson? Retribution? If there's retribution, it should be on a rebellious, unfilial daughter like you first. His foot landed on Si Xian's body again and again. Si Xian spat out a mouthful of blood from his kick and her face was ashen. Her ribs were broken and she was in so much pain that she could not speak. Qin Yuan crossed his arms and watched the show unfold before him. He seemed to be tired of watching and even pulled a stool over to sit down. His eyes were filled with exuberance. Sir Qin Yuan, this unfilial daughter is far too rebellious. I won't let you do it, I'll deal with her myself. Si Qiong instantly drew his long sword and stabbed Si Xian right in front of her heartbroken eyes. Blood spurted from his chest and dyed his face red. His expression was cold and solemn and his face was devoid of emotion. It was as if he had not killed his daughter but a stranger. Si Qiong. Qin Yuan slowly rose from his stool. You're a selfish person who doesn't even recognize your own family. It's no wonder that my master has refused to accept your spiritual door. It's a good thing that I had already taken precautions and fed you poison. Otherwise, knowing your character, you would bite back at your master sooner or later. Oh, that's right, my master is not your master. You're not even his dog. Si Qiong did not become angry in the face of Qin Yuan's mockery. Instead, a flattering smile appeared on her face as she said, Young Master Qin Yuan, you're right. I'm not even a dog. May I ask where Lord Ghost Emperor wants me to go? Qin Yuan sneered, Of course we're going to the Yun family. Your daughter has made such a big mistake. As a father, you must go and apologize to my mistress. If my mistress doesn't forgive you, you can go and accompany your daughter. Si Qiong shivered involuntarily and cursed Si Xian 1,000 times in her heart. If it wasn't for her, he wouldn't have suffered such a punishment. Young Master Qin Yuan, please lead the way. I'll apologize to her right now. As long as she's appeased, I'm willing to let her hit me as she pleases. A mocking smile appeared on Qin Yuan's face as he looked at Si Qiong, who was acting like a lackey. He turned around and walked out of the study. Hurry up and catch up. If you're late, master will kill you before mistress can forgive you. Upon hearing this, Si Qiong hurriedly followed behind Qin Yuan with large strides. General Yun's residence. In the backyard where clear spring water flowed, the girl sat by a tree and played chess by herself. After a long time, she sighed softly, and her pitch-black eyes revealed a faint emotion. My lady, are you thinking about Yun Xiao? Qin Yen covered her lips and giggled. Her large, bright eyes stared unblinkingly at Yun Luofeng as she asked. Yun Luofeng's hand, which was tightly gripping the flag, trembled. He smiled calmly and replied, I'm worried that Yun Xiao has run into some sort of problem. He said that he would only be gone for a day, but he still hasn't returned. I can't help but worry about him. After all, Yun Xiao's cultivation method was rather unique. If he were to have a breakthrough in his heavenly spirit method in the middle of a battle, he would fall into a state of madness. This would be extremely disadvantageous to him.